Hey everyone, and welcome to Quarantine in the Multiverse, episode 2. So we're back.
Attack of the Clones.
Shut up. No, how dare you? Shut up, shut your filthy face.
This is going to be the worst one until 9.
I mean, I'd rather not be here for 9, but, you know.
Yeah, hopefully we're back to a regular show before we get to 9, but honestly, it's looking...
We can do 9 in 30 years' time.
I'm erring to the side of failure on everything now, so I can be happily surprised.
That makes sense.
Everything is terrible.
Yeah, I'm braced for months of this all now.
Yeah. So I'm Peter, joined by Matt, of course.
Yo, what's up?
And Connor's here.
Yeah, still kicking around.
This is our limited series podcast, which we're doing because there's no new comic books. Normally we do comics from the Multiverse, which is a DC Comics podcast, but since there's no comic books coming out, we got this instead. So we'll talk about any comic news there might be related to things coming back or whatever else, although there wasn't really much this week, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I didn't get asked for questions this week. We might ask for some questions next week, but I did actually make a quiz for Matt and Connor to go head-to-head on, and that's kind of our main event of the week. Pop quiz, hot shots. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say pop quiz, hot shot.
So if I do badly, get my excuse in now.
Hold on. Before you go further, what are you drinking? That looks like a hurricane.
It's a Planter's Punch.
There you go.
But with one of the ones with grenadine in it, because there's all sorts of recipes for that one.
Gotcha.
So looks similar here.
Very exciting. And then much like last week, we'll talk about other stuff we've been doing, any comics we have been reading, the old stuff for other companies, movies, video games. Me and Matt will talk about wrestling for a bit, I'm sure. So, type of stuff that we're doing.
There was a Wrestlemania, and boy.
That's right, yeah. So Matt's got a lot more wrestling talk to do than I do, but...
It'll be quick, Connor, believe me. It's not like last time where we were catching up. There's... Outside of maybe 3 matches, there's not much to talk about. That's how woefully...
We'll see. We'll see.
No, I meant on the Mania side.
On the Mania side. Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
That part will be quick. The rest of it, maybe not. But, and then at the end of the show, I've been spreading out my Patreon books. Although this technically isn't Patreon, this was a tip on a stream. Because when I do live streams, there's a tip amount to make me read a comic on the podcast. And David likes to... Yeah, likes to do this. So I'll be discussing Flash Forward issue 6 at the end of the show.
So he made you read issue 6 without 1 through 5.
Yep.
So either that was the nicest thing he could have done, or the worst thing he could have done.
If it was a book that I actually wanted to read, I would have objected and said, no, you can make me read issue 1, I will not skip to the end. But with this one, I was like, yeah, sure.
No, I don't think you can object on their choosing. That's the whole point. If you want to go and read the previous issues, and as homework and prep, that's on you.
They can negotiate with me before they make their tip. That's always advised. Always advised.
He learned as his time turning tricks on the streets.
Yeah. Cara, did you read one of your punishment books?
No, because I got in late. And
that's fine.
I made a drink instead.
You got a couple of weeks, that's fine. We got nothing but time. It's not like you're going to be rushed next week to read one or two comics.
I've got 2 books to do, one of which I don't know what that is yet. So...
Tyler's concocting his plans. He's thinking of something. And
it's going to be a good time for me to get caught up on that book. Right? It's going to be a big layoff. I'm really enjoying Charles Soule's work that I've been reading.
I'm assuming he's talking about Undiscovered Country here, and not Red Hood.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I'd assume so, yeah. So that's the plan for the show. Hopefully you guys liked last week's episode and you'll like this one. And people seem to be glad that there's still a show on, that we're not just taking the time off. Because I mean, let's face it, we have more time than we usually do. So why would we?
Here's the thing. Also, it helps because I haven't been at work. But I've read more comics, even on our busier weeks, over the last week since we last recorded, than I normally would have. And it's been easier. And I don't know if it's because certain books feel like homework, and these are stuff I'm actively wanting to read.
I think it's a little like column A, column B. I think these are books that you're actively wanting to read, and you might read most of the books you read for the show, but there's some that you're kind of keeping up with for the sake of keeping up with them. But then also the fact that you don't have work is a big factor.
I think even more than that, it's just that it's not the obligation. Like even comics that I enjoy, when I read them for the show, it's like, okay, I have to make sure I make time to sit down and read this point.
Sometimes just something as simple as having a deadline, even though you may have read it by that time anyway, does just make it feel a little bit more like work than it would have done otherwise.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But anyway.
So But yeah, so I've read not a ton, but I've read a lot over the last week, like and quickly too. So
yeah. Well, we'll get to comics in a bit. I think we'll start with any news that there may be. Honestly, there wasn't much this week.
And that was the news.
Yeah, that was pretty much the news. I did want to bring up one thing though. Someone on Twitter did want us to sort of spread the word, sort of signal boost TKO's thing. Obviously, it's not DC related, but this is a good idea for comic shops. So if you go to TKO are the company who do the alternate formats where you can buy it as single issues, or you can buy it as a trade, or you can buy it as digital, and they do all of that, and they'll ship all the single issues out as one in a little box.
They release all 3 versions on the same day as well.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what they're doing right now is if you go into their website and you buy anything from them, if you tell them what comic store is yours or your favorite comic store is, they will give 50% of the purchase price to that store. Nice. During this time of dire need. So if you want to support your comic book stores, sort of indirectly as it were, you can do that if you're buying any TKO books anyway. You might as well put in their store name. It's not charging you anymore. You're not having to pay anymore. TKO are just offering up half of the cost.
Even if you don't have a store, you order trades mostly and you don't buy them from a comic store, just pick one.
Yeah, you might as well put one in. If you've heard one on a podcast or something, if you know someone else buys from a store, use that store, whatever. You might as well support someone if you're using TKO.
Yeah, if you don't know, tweet at us and we'll tweet you our stores.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. So that's that. That was at McComb Factor who just wanted to sort of us to spread the word there. That's a good idea. I have no objections to do so. That's cool. But that's pretty much the news. There's not a lot of news this week. There's various rumblings of Diamond might announce something soon, or someone might announce something soon. But as of concrete news this week, nothing.
And anytime something like this happens, there's a very vocal minority that try to say other things, and they try to be the ones that are like, oh no, this is what's really happening. So there's been a lot of Twitter feuds with a certain group in other more mainstream, people that actually know what's going on. So that's been fun to see. So I'm talking around it just because you don't want to attract, that type.
And I think we mentioned last week about Jim Lee doing his charity drawings for comic stores.
Rob Liefeld's doing the same now, which, I mean, for all the problems he has, I mean, sure, go for it.
From what I hear, he's a very, very nice individual. Anytime I've been at the con, he's had a line and he takes his time with everybody,
I think,
which is nice.
Treats fans quite well. I think he doesn't have great business relations with a lot of the people at the companies.
But the way that I look at that is, I mean, that's as long as you're nice to the fans, it sucks that he has shit relations with coworkers, but that doesn't impact, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it sounds kind of super self.
Yeah, we make fun of his art and whatnot. Yeah, but, I mean, I haven't got a problem with the guy personally.
And I know he only charges to sign New Mutants 25 because that's the Deadpool book and whatever. So, but anything else he'll sign. I've never waited in the line because I don't personally own much Liefeld. However, I do like to hear those stories that he's a nice guy, and hey, any little bit helps. I'm sure there's people out here that would pay a pretty penny for a sketch from him, to auction off. It's not like even that Jim Lee. I'm not a fan of Doomsday, but his Doomsday he auctioned off this week looked pretty rad.
Sure, yeah. So that's pretty much it. So we'll get into kind of the quiz that I have prepared for Matt and Carr. I don't know if you two want to have a little stake on this to see if...
No.
Not really, because we don't even know what the quiz is. We know nothing about this. We are unprepared.
It's multiple choice, right? You get 4 options, right? I will leave it... I mean, my first idea was going to be that you could sort of buzz in, as it were, by saying your name. But I realised that was unfair because Matt's on a slight delay compared to Connor to me, so they could say their names at the same time and I'd hear Connor first, so that's not fair. So I think what we do is we kind of sort of roll for who goes first and alternate, but if someone gets a question wrong, it'll pass over to the other person and they can have a chance at answering. So
Family Feud style.
Yeah, so there's four choices on every question, and just go. So there's 20 questions.
Is there a theme?
Oh, boy.
It's DC Comics.
Okay.
No, that's the keep it in topic of the show at large. This took me a couple hours to do, so I think if we do this again, if I make another one, it might not be DC Comics next time. I might just shift to like a movie quiz or something like that, to keep my options open for question type.
A friend of mine is, his group of friends are all doing like a quiz soon.
Yeah.
And they've each been given like a task, a section, like, hey, you come up with things for this category. And my friend got given, do general knowledge. And he goes, how much of a dick would I be if I made every question about military generals? I went,
and that would be general knowledge.
Sorry, but one thing I will say though is if people like this this format for this quarantine sort of run of episodes, I am all for people submitting quizzes or stuff like that for me to do for these two guys. By all means.
When I first started recording with Pete, he would always bring up QI as like one of his favorite shows.
Oh, I love QI, yeah.
And now this is his chance. He's made his own QI. I just realized this.
He wants to be Stephen Fry.
So yeah, if you do want to make up your own quizzes, you can have themes. You can have. I know a fun one that I've seen in another podcast is someone will do it like an either or quiz where it'll be like, so for us it would be something like, is this an alien Green Lantern or is it a breed of hedgehog? And you get two options and you have to decide which one's which.
Comedy Butt used to do Indian food or Star Wars character.
There you go, yeah.
It's always one of my favorites because most of the time, unless it was a well-known character, it was a toss-up.
So if you do want to submit your own, I'll remind you again at the end of the quiz, but mftvquestions@gmail.com is where you can send questions and quizzes and anything you want to send us that we might use on the show. Feel free. So here we go. Alright, so 20 questions. Originally I was going to do 21 because I thought, just in case there's a tie, and then I thought, wait a minute, if you both get something wrong, you could end up tying anyway. It's not like everything has to have a point for someone, so whatever. But we'll see who wins. So are you ready? I'm going to get my notepad so I can keep track of points here.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
My chi.
Connor's looking at a phone right now. I'm going to have to ask him to put that away. I don't want any cheating here.
I've got another screen here if I really wanted to cheat.
Okay, hands up. I want hands up like you've been stuck up the whole time.
Hands up. That's
my hands don't scan.
I actually have a condition that means I can't actually do that. For too long. No. I have a nerve problem from a repetitive strain. So if I hold my arm up with it bent for too long,
too much masturbating is what I'm hearing right now.
No, it's just from typing.
Yes, typing. Yes.
Typing
before we recorded, just remember what I said about gizzards being a frill.
A frill species.
Breed.
Yeah. All right, I'll go on a new pitch for this. I think actually. Right. So, Matt versus Connor. It's head to head. Winner takes all of nothing. Loser loses all of nothing. So here we go. Let's see. All right. So
loser has to be the Connor for a week.
Who decide who's going first? Just
a coin toss.
Do a coin toss. I don't have a coin. I do have a.
You have a Google.
Harvey Dent.
I did, but no, I've got a set of D&D dice here. I'll just roll a dice. It's fine, easy.
Fine.
Easy. D20, even numbers. Who wants even numbers?
I'll take odds. You have Connor evens.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Even number, Connor. Odd number, Matt. Goes first. It is 19, so Matt is going first.
Odds.
All right. So
why do you have a D20 just sitting there?
I just have a bag of D&D dice. All right. I've dabbled.
I know.
I've wanted to get into D&D in the past, and it's not happened. But I did prepare at one point for it. All right.
Oh man.
Look, hey, maybe some sort of Skype D&D session at some point, right?
Just speak to James. He's been trying to set it up for months.
I know. It's finding the time. I do want to. I'd love to do some role playing stuff.
And also, it's James who just goes on random Twitter things as if we know what he's talking about.
I know. All right. Question 1. Mm-hmm. Right. So Matt gets first chance at this, but it will pass over to Connor if Matt gets it wrong. So, all right. Question 1. Which episode of Batman the Animated Series was Harley Quinn's first appearance? A. The Last Laugh. B. The Laughing Fish. C. Joker's Wild. Or D. Joker's Favor.
That's not Mad Love. Shoot. I don't know BTAS like I used to.
BTAS.
What was the first one again?
Who calls it BTAS? Last Laugh was the first one.
Last Laugh.
Last Laugh, Laughing Fish, Joker's Wild, Joker's Favor. That's your 4 options.
I'm gonna go Joker's Wild.
That is incorrect. So
Damn.
we'll pass over to Connor. So your options are The Last Laugh, The Laughing Fish, or Joker's Favor. Which one do you think it is?
See, the only one that my gut is saying it's not is The Last Laugh. So I'm going to go with that.
That is incorrect. The correct answer was Joker's Favor. For the record, all 4 of those are real episodes. I took real titles for all of them. But yeah, Joker's Favor was the first Harley Quinn episode.
As soon as he said first Harley Quinn, I went, "Oh, that's Mad Love. This is easy." It's not there.
All right. Also, yeah, if you're keeping track of your own score at home as you go, by all means, tweet at us how well you do. At DC Comics Podcast, of course. All right. Number 2 for Connor. First dibs. Which Green Lantern was assigned to Krypton Sector?
Damn it.
Is it A, Abin Sur, B, Tomar Ray, C, Salak, or D, Tomar 2?
Damn it, I knew you were going to do that.
Do what? What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. No, I just tried to remember which
naming
one's
conventions.
Yeah, I need to remember. It's B or D. I know that. I'm confident on that much. And I know Matt is as well. And Matt might actually know.
I know exactly what it is. So I know my Green Lantern.
It's Superman as well.
Shirt today too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll go with Tomar Ray.
That's correct. Connor gets a point. First point on the board.
Just going forward, you know the difference is Tomar 2 is the sequel, right? Tomar Ray was the original.
That's good.
Yeah, Tomar 2. Tomar 2 Electric Boogaloo. Yeah.
Like, as soon as Pete started the question, I was like, okay, I can picture it. I know which one it is. And then he put both in there. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, this is multiple choice questioning 101. Is you put 2 similar answers.
As soon as he said Tomar Ray, I go, Tomar 2's coming.
Yeah, I knew it was. I was just hoping that maybe Pete had been stupid.
And then if you want to know, wait, you didn't put who the Sinestro Corps Zudarian is, did you?
No.
Because that's Romont Rue.
Got animal choice.
Yep.
All right, question 3. Matt gets first crack.
All right.
This is actually quite easy to remember because you're actually the odd numbers because you won.
Yeah.
So it's actually the odd numbers again. So question 3. Which of the following rogues appeared first? So first appearance of the rogues. Which one of these was first? Was it A, the Pied Piper, B, Mirror Master, C, Weather Wizard, or D, Captain Boomerang?
I can see the Captain Boomerang cover in my head, but I can't tell what the date is.
It's like he's got photographic memory. He's trying to zoom in. He's like, "What's the date on the cover?"
I actually do that. Like when I used to have like exams at school, I would just visualize the entire page of a textbook and just kind of scan through it in my head.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say Weather Wizard.
That is incorrect. I'll go over to Connor. He can maybe steal this point.
I don't know either, so it's a bit of a guess. I'm going to go Pied Piper.
That is also incorrect. The correct answer was Mirror Master, who appeared in Flash 105 in February. I think the issues were they were all listed as like 2 months, so it was like February/March.
Right.
But that was Flash 105. Pied Piper was just after that in 106. And then Weather Wizard was 110 in December of 59. These were all 1959. And then Captain Boomerang was a year later in 117 in December 1960.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For some reason, I knew it was in 1960, but I couldn't remember. So I know it wasn't Boomerang, but I couldn't remember if it was in a code of month.
So points. Yeah. 1-0 to Connor right now. Connor 1, Matt 0. Number 4, Connor gets first crack. What is the Penguin's middle name? A. So you know Oswald Cobblepot, of course, is his actual name, right? So his middle name is it A, Chesterfield, B, Nathaniel, C, Nigel, or D, Theodore?
Nigel's too English.
Sure. Thought process. Yeah.
It's probably that now. I've said that. Screw it. Let's go with Nigel.
That is incorrect. Matt, you can steal a point here.
What was B? I know D is Theodore. I know A is Chesterfield.
B was Nathaniel.
Nathaniel. See, I feel like you put in Chesterfield because Chester Copperpot from Goonies. I'm going to go Theodore. That's just a good name.
That is incorrect. Chesterfield was the right answer.
Damn it.
It was Chesterfield.
I was like, where do I know Chester Cobblepot? And I was like, no, that's Chester Copperpot.
At least
he made it the farthest.
At least a couple of those names I took from like other relatives of him, because in like the wiki there was like grandfather was like Theodore Cobblepot. I'll take that as a potential answer.
Well, you got to remember that he is a family of Gotham.
Oh sure, yeah.
So he can't be that English still.
Yeah, so still 1-0 right now.
Damn it.
After 4 questions. Number 5. Matt gets first crack. In Batgirl Year 1, which...
He's not ready.
Famously haven't read.
Which... Hey, this is why I let it be random who gets what questions, because I don't want to...
I know.
Right. In Batgirl Year 1, which female hero does Barbara get to team up with? Which female hero does Barbara get to team up with in Batgirl Year 1? Is it A, Supergirl, B, Hawkgirl, C, Zatanna, or D, Black Canary?
So, my brain immediately went to Canary, so that's what I'm going to go with and not overthink this.
1 point to Matt. He's right. It's Black Canary.
Because the Gotham connection.
There you go.
And then he said Zatanna, and I was like, no, don't do that. You're going to think yourself into a loss.
This is the beauty of multiple choice. Even though you've not read it, you had a 1 in 4 shot. You could take a go.
Well, and again, the Birds of Prey connection, that was written, Batgirl Year 1 was written by Chuck Dixon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So yeah, there's a thought process. It makes sense. All right, question 6. Connor gets first crack. In New 52 Action Comics, what is Clark's landlady called? Is it A, Mrs. Wixley, B, Mrs. Bigsley, C, Mrs. Nixley, or D, Mrs. Plixley? So that's Wixley, Bigsley, Nixley, or Plixley.
Wink and blink and a nod.
A. I can't remember what they all were, so I'm taking a random guess.
You go for Mrs. Wixley. That is incorrect. Matt, you can have a chance of stealing here.
C, Nixley.
Nixley's correct. Matt is suddenly in the lead. 2-1. 2-1 to Matt. He stole one. Look at that.
Well, and I remember that because it was close to Mixie, right? And then with the way that plays out, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 7. Matt gets first crack. In The Dark Knight, what does Bruce interfere with to create an alibi for Hong Kong? Is it A, a Russian opera, B, a Russian ballet, C, a Russian festival, or D, a Russian symphony?
It was B, because he's on the yacht with the ballerinas.
Matt gets a point. 3-1.
That was such an easy one. That was probably the easiest question yet.
And it's in the newspaper that the ballet's in town.
He had a couple of tough questions. He deserved the easy one. Not that I'm picking. These are just in the order I put them in. All right, number 8. Connor gets first crack.
Go get this one, Connor.
Connor gets first crack here. In New Teen Titans issue 1, who first encounters Starfire?
I definitely haven't read.
Who first encounters Starfire? Is it A, Beast Boy, B, Joseph Wilson, C, Raven, or D, Grant Wilson? Bum bum. Bum bum. What was that?
D.
D. Grant Wilson's correct. Connor goes up to 2 points.
Good.
There we go. See, wasn't that bad. All right, number 9. Back over to Matt. Gets first crack. Who did Aquaman have to regain control of Atlantis from in Abnett's run? Was it A, Coram Wrath, B, Coram Reef, C, Coram Wrath, or D, Coram Rife?
It was Wrath, A.
That is correct.
Getting the easy one again. Nice recent thing that we all covered on the show.
I had to put a few recent things in.
Memorable because of that really shit issue around that period.
That's true. All right, number 10.
It really leaned into the wrath aspect.
Yeah.
Of his rule. So.
All right, number 10. Corey gets first crack. In The Long Halloween, who is Harvey Dent's wife? Is it A, Gilda, B, Rachel, C, Grace, or D, Holly?
I've not read this in a few years. Whenever me and Pete covered it for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So, bit of a guess here. I'll go with Grace.
That is incorrect. Matt's got a chance to steal a point here.
And I'm going to because it's A, Gilda.
Gilda's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Matt is now.
And she might be the holiday killer, but we don't know.
It's been a while.
Matt is at 5 points. Connor is at 2 as we're halfway through. Number 11. Matt gets first.
If this is another easy one, then I swear you've just ordered this badly.
I'll tell you this right now. This one favors Connor. Before I even say
it's
it.
Constantine then.
No. According to Alan Tudyk's Mr. Nobody, what brought a few viewers back for episode 2 of Doom Patrol? Is it a kaiju-sized rat named Admiral Whiskers? B, an army of walking buttocks? C, a farting donkey? Or D, a man eating a beard?
The only one that sounds like something that you guys have talked about is A, Mr. Whiskers.
Is that your answer?
Yeah, A.
That is incorrect. Connor, you got a chance.
Pretty sure it's the farting donkey.
It is indeed the farting donkey. That's a point to Connor. It is worth mentioning for Matt's sake, though. All 4 of those things do happen in the show.
Yeah.
I just remember you guys. I just remember you guys talking about Mr. Whiskers at one point.
Admiral Whiskers. Give him his proper
Admiral,
title.
whatever.
Yes, Admiral. Yes.
Due that respect.
All right. Connor's up next. Number 12. In Johnsy's Green Lantern run, what is Cowgirl's actual name? Is it A, Gillian Perlman, B, Julie Peterson, C, Judy Palmer, or D, Jess Perkins?
God, when was the last time Cowgirl showed up?
I'm gonna let you do this because I know the answer to that.
Bloody do, because you're a thing. B.
Julie Peterson is incorrect. Matt, do you want to steal a point?
Yeah, it's A. It's Jillian.
How did you know this was Gillian Perlman? How did you know that?
Because I remember it was Jillian. So when you started saying Jilly, I was like, no, it's Jillian.
Okay.
And the last time she showed up was in Morrison's in the first issue.
She did, but I don't recall. Did they use her actual name, or did they just call her Cowgirl?
They call her Cowgirl.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Hence the difficulty of the question. All right, we're back over to Matt
GL.
for number 13. Okay. Who was the proposed villain for Joel Schumacher's Batman Triumphant? Was it A?
That's the one after Batman and Robin, right?
Yeah, the one that never get made. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So was it A, Ra's al Ghul, B, Scarecrow, C, Killer Croc, or D, Hugo Strange?
It was Scarecrow.
That's correct. Matt takes a point.
Yeah.
Matt takes a point. All right, back over to
He
Connor.
said he was going to get super trippy with it. And I was like, I don't want that from Schumacher.
Oh, I wanted that. That's why it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one that actually would have favoured Matt. So Connor, you've got a chance to sort of take one from him. Okay, number 14. Which of these is not, I repeat, is not a location on Krypton? Right?
Christ.
A, Lurvan, B, Plain of Wenan, C, Xanthel City, or D, Eureka?
Matt, do you know the answer to this one?
I'm not giving that away yet. So I don't want to give you a false sense of confidence.
It's a total guess from me, regardless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just intrigued of how disappointed I should be when I get it wrong.
So that was Lurvan, Plain of Wenan, Xanthel City, and Eureka.
A.
That is not the correct answer. Lurvan is a continent on Krypton. Matt.
I feel like Eureka is a thing because it wouldn't be a thing.
That's
Therefore,
why I read that one out as well. It's like it's too normal a word that we're familiar with.
For whatever reason, I can see it in my head on a map of Krypton. So I'm going to say B, the plains.
The Plain of Wanaan. That is incorrect as well. That is a desolate area outside Kandor. Eureka is a place as well. That is a continent as well. So Xanthel City is not a real place. However, Zan City is. So
there you go.
I think we
I remember Eureka.
We both ruled out Eureka for the right reason. And then took a total guess with the others.
It is spelled differently. It's not spelled like the word Eureka, but it's that's what it sounds like. Number 15. Back over to Matt for first crack. Who voiced Selena Kyle in Batman Year One?
Oh, shit.
Or I'll phrase this more specifically. Which actress from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer voiced Selena Kyle in Batman Year One? Was it A, Eliza Dushku, B, Charisma Carpenter, C, Emma Caulfield, or D, Michelle Trachtenberg?
The only one that is Dushku still even working?
Yeah, she was on a TV show like last year.
Was she? She would make a good Catwoman voice. But I'm going to go with Caulfield.
That is incorrect, Matt. Connor's got a chance to steal, sorry.
I don't know either. And I'm going to go with Dushku as well, just because she's the obvious choice out of the group.
Dushku's correct. You get a point.
Yep. Damn it. See, I overthought it.
Point.
Yeah.
So that was question 15. So we got 5 questions left. Right now we're on Matt with 7 points and Connor with 4. So
and you can still make a comeback if
you got a chance. You got a chance. So number 16, Connor gets first crack. Which of the Lantern Oaths features the line, "With strong hearts full, our souls ignite"? Is it A, Ultraviolet? And there's one for all these. I actually looked these all up. Right?
Yeah.
Is it A, Ultraviolet, B, Blue, C, Starfire, or D, Phantom Lantern?
Give me the line again.
With strong hearts full, our souls ignite.
Star Sapphire.
That is incorrect.
Damn it.
Matt, do you want to steal this?
I feel initially I thought it was Blue, but I can't remember the Phantom Lantern Oath whatsoever. I do remember reading it, right? Because that was under Humphrey's Green Lantern's one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the Ultra. But the whole Phantom Lantern thing was he could touch into all of them. So I'll go Phantom Lanterns.
That is incorrect. It was in fact Blue. Here's the full oath here. In fearful day and raging night, with strong hearts full, our souls ignite. When all seems lost in the war of light, look to the stars, for hope burns bright. That's the full.
I will say it's interesting that I think both me and Matt had Blue as the second choice. It could have been that.
Yeah.
That was the one I considered.
The ones I remember are red because it's super metal and like goth. And then I remember orange because essentially it's just mine. Yellow is almost an inverse of green. And I remember green. I wrote green into my wedding vows. So that one, I know. I know
everyone knows green. Green's the easy one.
I know that one off my heart.
All right. Number 17. This is back over to Matt. In the Superboy TV show, which college did Clark attend? Was it A, Schuster College, B, Siegel College, C, Crypto College, or D, the College of Tomorrow?
Oof.
Obviously,
it is of that era.
Obviously, they're all fictional, right? They had a fictional college in the show.
You don't say.
College of Tomorrow reeks of bad 80s.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no way Crypto College would have been a real thing. But Schuster or Siegel. But I'm going to go with D, College of Tomorrow.
That is incorrect. I made that one up. I'm proud of that one. Connor, what would you want to try?
See, I kind of agreed with Matt that it's maybe Schuster or Siegel, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense. But because I don't want to pick between them, I'm going to go with C.
You go with Crypto. That is incorrect. I'll tell you, I this question became a thing because I was just looking at wiki pages for random DC things, and when I landed on the Superboy TV page, it just happened to mention the paragraph, "Oh, Clark goes to this college." I went, "Oh, that is a question. That college is the answer to a question." It was in fact Schuster College, was the answer. So So we're still on 7-4 in terms of points. I don't think Connor can win now, but we can see how far. Let's see how far he claws back. Number 18. So Connor gets first crack. Which of these is not? I repeat, is not a sports team in DC Comics?
God damn it!
Oh man, there's another question meant for me.
Yeah. So is it A, the Gotham Goliaths, B, Metropolis Metros, C, the Midway Braves, or D, the Star City Stars? Which of these is not a sports team in DC Comics?
I think the answer is either C or D. Midway Braves. I'll go with D. I'd like to think Star City has a bit more respect for itself.
That is incorrect. There is, in fact, a team called the Star City Stars. Did you actually know that, Matt?
Yeah. And they're a baseball team.
He's mocked up
They're in the West.
baseball caps of all of these.
Yeah, I suppose.
They're in the West Conference.
All right, Matt, what's your answer then? You get a chance.
It's C, the Midway Braves.
Yeah, I made that one up. I actually wanted to do the question was originally going to be which sport does this or that team play, right? But when I looked these all up, all of them have all been used for multiple sports. In fact, Gotham Goliaths have literally been baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. They've been all four. So in that case, I'll do a different question. But that was what it was supposed to be originally. I was gonna
say I know them as that because I equate them with the Giants, right? Of baseball. So but we all know the real money team is the Metropolis Mammoths.
Sure.
Uh,
The first two there, I was confident were real. I've read things with those.
The Metros are a baseball team, if I remember right. Usually,
I think they're multiple, but yeah, baseball was one of them.
I do know on Smallville they were the Sharks, and I thought that was lame. The Metropolis Sharks, and Jeff Johns was the star running back, Teflon tailback.
Matt retains some of the weirdest knowledge. Number 19, Matt gets first crack at this. What was Wonder Woman almost called? Was it A, Superwoman, B, Suprema, C, Super She, or D, Super Doll?
Oh boy.
I don't trust Master enough that it wasn't D.
Yeah, me either. Knowing the history of who Diana was?
I actually forgot to bold this, what one was the right answer. Luckily, I remember it because it was memorable. So, looking up this question was very memorable because I was surprised that this was a thing.
Did anyone watch that Marston biopic?
Nah, I never saw it.
No, I should.
I did. It was pretty solid.
Yeah. Who plays Marsters? It's someone. Is it? It's not Patrick Wilson, is it?
No.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
No.
I can't look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was Nicholas Hoult, but it was someone like Nicholas Hoult, I think, in build.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm gonna say Super She or C, whatever C was.
It wasn't Super She. Connor, you got a chance to steal it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Suprema.
Suprema was the right answer. Connor gets a point.
When you said it was memorable, I thought you meant memorable as in bad. Although Suprema would have worked.
I think it's memorable because it's so different from the other answers.
The Suprema.
So that actually takes us to the final question. Connor gets first crack. Number 20. Where was Jason Todd conceived?
Is the Connor
Why
question?
did I get this question? Did you just swap this in for me?
No. This was always going to be. I wanted the last question to be Jason Todd related. So was it A, an alley, B, a bar, C, a car, or D, a brothel?
All of the above. They had a wild
He
night.
was a street kid.
Yeah, they had a wild night, and could have been any of those. The parents don't actually know. I'll go with a car because I don't know. I think that's thematically ties in more with Jason, with him stealing the tires.
That is incorrect, Matt. You've got a chance to steal one more point.
So what were A and B again?
An alley and a bar.
Alley. I'll go an alley.
Alley's correct, so Matt gets one final point. So the final score of that quiz was 9 points to Matt and 5 points to Connor. So Matt decisively won, but there you go. Wasn't that fun? I thought that was fun.
I was not drunk enough for this.
Yeah, maybe we should have had some stakes though. Like the loser had to do something. Make it more exciting.
You only think that because you're not taking part.
That's true. But I did all the work putting it together. I get to be exempt to the stakes. That's the beauty of it. I laughed though because I read the wiki page, or the DC wiki page for Jason, looking for a bit of trivia that I could use as a question, and it said that he was unexpectedly conceived in an alleyway. I'm like, unexpectedly? What's that mean? Unexpectedly.
Ouch.
Anyway, that was the quiz. Matt's the victor for this one. So yes, feel free to send in your own quizzes. mftvquestions@gmail.com. And I will play the Quizmaster once more. We can have some fun with that. But yeah, so there we go. That is that. So we'll move on to talking about just random stuff that we've been doing this week in the various media packages that we consume. I suppose we'll start with some movies, since that's obviously a fairly common one. Matt, have you got what have you been watching? Give us one.
Yeah, let me consult because I've watched a lot. Not a lot, but
enough
to yeah. So I'll start with the best of these, and then funnily enough, it's gonna be so on brand. But I watched a surf documentary about my favorite surfer in high school, Andy Irons, who was a white kid from Kauai in the Hawaiian Islands. Never should have been as good as he was, but for whatever reason, he had this run where he won 3 years in a row. And I remember he passed away in 2010, and I remember reading about it and thinking, oh, that's unfortunate. And it was reported he died of dengue fever. Which like, oh wow, I mean, how does one get that? Come to find out, all this time of me being a fan of him, I didn't realize he had a drug problem and an addiction issue compounded by a bipolar disorder. So this documentary goes in heavy on those. It was produced by Chris Hemsworth, which I thought was weird. So which then led me to find out that Chris Hemsworth is a really good surfer. Like, I don't know if he could have gone pro, but had the acting thing not worked out, I think
that's just called being Australian.
I think so too. But so I looked up Chris Hemsworth's background, and yes, he did grow up in a beach town, but it alternated between that and the outback on a cattle ranch. So like,
the only two kinds of Australians in existence, and
he's both. So but yeah, so it was a story that I thought I knew so much about, and it gets into his career and his early life, and it really focuses on his competition. And he's the only, as of when the movie came out in 2018, he was the only surfer to actually win at each one of these stops on the surfing tour. And he won, I think, 3 Triple Crowns and the championship 3 years in a row. So it was pretty, he'll go down as one of the best. I mean, it's not Kelly Slater with his 11, titles or whatnot, but he does have a win at each, stop, which is pretty. I don't think there's too many. Although, what do you guys know about surfing? I could lie. You guys wouldn't even know.
I don't know a single word you've just said, basically.
Yeah, that's okay. But it was really good. I remember my mother-in-law going, "What's this?" She came downstairs, and I explained it to her. And I explained how I thought he died. She goes, "Well, that's sad. Why are you going to do that? You don't like sad things." I was like, "You're right. Why am I going to do this?" And I thought, but no, it was really good. It's on Hulu for those that might. It's called Andy Irons, Kissed by God, and it's full of real nice looking surf footage as well. Stuff that's almost mystifying, like shots I think that they took for the movie of like the waves from underneath. Which is always cool. So there's a lot of fun photography going on. But yeah, I think as weird as it sounds, what I learned most of this is that Chris Hemsworth is actually a pretty good surfer, which shouldn't come as a surprise. He is Thor, after all. But yeah.
All right, Connor, you go. What would you want to throw out there?
I'll start with some things that were really good and one thing that was really bad. But I'll start with an actual good one, which was Mustang. This is a Turkish movie from 2015, and it is essentially it's a coming of age story. I've been describing it after seeing it as, it's Turkish Little Women, and I mean that in a good way. It's about these 5 sisters, who are ranging, in ages from, about to leave school, like they're maybe 16, 17, 18 sort of point, down to maybe 10 to 12. And they're all in that range. And it's the last day of school before the summer break. And afterwards they go down to the beach and they're playing with there's some guys in the class and they're doing the thing where, you get on the shoulders and do the wrestling. They're in the sea doing that. And a family friend, someone in the community, sees them doing this and reports it to their grandmother, I think it is, who they live with, because their parents are dead. So they live with like their grandmother and their aunt and uncle. And they get home and she just starts, like beating them, and they don't know what's going on and they don't understand, what they're being punished for. Basically, they the way it was reported is that they were getting themselves off on the boys' necks, and it's like extremely obscene. And this is an extremely conservative family that they're in. And then basically from that point on, they are kind of put under house arrest, and that is it. And the rest of the movie is them kind of trying to rebel. The family trying to marry off the older girls one by one, going through this, seeing how they react in different ways. The acts of rebellion, the way they push the boundaries and try and get back, and the escalation on the uncle more specifically is kind of the villain of the piece, so to speak. But it's really good. Very funny at times as well, though. I definitely recommend checking it out.
Interesting. First one I'll talk about is not a good movie. It was one that I was streaming on, I think, Monday night, and it was like, let's just pick a random thing on Amazon that we've never heard of to watch. And I picked a movie from 1987 called Nightstick.
I love it already.
And the poster, made it look like it was going to be this, dark action movie, and this guy's out for vengeance or whatever, and this, the renegade cop has to go after the bad guy. It turned out to be a TV movie that was made in Canada in 1987, and is really, really dull. And I think what surprises is that not only is it not entertaining or exciting, but he's the exact opposite of every cop in a movie like this ever. You know how they're always like, they can't solve the case until they turn in their badge, or they do things off the book and they go after the bad guys and beat them up. They're a loose cannon, right? That type of character. He's the opposite. Everything's really by the book, and he's really dull and uninteresting, and he just goes about going about his job, and it's really. And there's a couple of random stars in it. 2 of the superiors who have no bearing on the movie whatsoever, but they show up for multiple scenes. Robert Vaughn, for a DC Comics connection, because he was the villain in Superman 3. It's just in case you're wondering who that is. He's in there, and then his direct boss is Leslie Nielsen, and so first of all, you're waiting for him to crack jokes, but he doesn't, because he's Leslie Nielsen. You're like, where's the comedy coming? Where's the Naked Gun jokes coming? Right.
People forget that up until Airplane and the Police Squad show, he was a serious actor. But if you go look at his credits, it wasn't until they found out he was really good at comedy, and they put him on Police Squad and the Naked Gun.
It's hard. It's hard to take him seriously because you sort of hear the jokey voice from him the whole time. What was most miraculous about this, though, is that almost every scene he was in, he was eating. Literally, the second scene he's in with the main cop, they're at a Chinese restaurant, and they've just got a table of food, and he's got his mouth full as he's talking the entire scene. And all I could fathom is that he's like, I'll do this movie if you want, but I want to be well fed every single time I'm on set. Yeah. So he's eating all the time.
That's called pulling a Brad Pitt. Because if you notice, Brad Pitt eats a lot because he knows that it gives him something to do. So go look at him as Rusty Ryan in the Ocean's movies. He always has food. There's 1 or 2 scenes in those movies where he's not holding some kind of food item.
But this is his mouth is full from eating a meal. He's like, yeah. That would do that. Yeah, hunting bombers, because it's just these guys have stolen bomb supplies from various places, and it's supposed to be tense because there's going to be an explosion, but it's not. Right. It was dull as shit.
Sounds like reverse Hot Fuzz, right?
It was. It was terrible. Just don't waste your time. It was a mind-numbing experience. I do not recommend it. That's Nightstick from 1987. Matt, throw out another one.
So I watched Greenberg, which is a Noah Baumbach movie.
Yeah, I've seen this one.
After Marriage Story. Yeah. Turned out I wasn't a fan of this one. It was a little bit too mumblecore for me compared to the other two Baumbach movies that I have seen, While We're Young and Marriage Story. Just kind of a lot of long shots of people not doing much of anything, and then really low-key conversations. And Ben Stiller's character to me was unlikable, and not in the fun Larry David way, where you're like, look at this crazy guy, you know? Just like, and I understand his character has mental illness, and this is not on Stiller's performance. I think Stiller does exactly what's necessary, and he's very good at it. But like, it was just very hard for me to watch. Outside of Greta, I'm drawing a blank. Help me out, Connor. Gerwig. There we go.
I've not seen the movie. I just took a stab at who you were talking about here.
She's really good in it. Like, I think this is the first time I've seen her in a movie. Like out of this, I know she was in House of the Devil, but she has a super tiny role in that. So it should come as no surprise. She's a very good director, right? But yeah, I just was not a fan of this one. I came in, maybe my expectations were too high. It's still a well-crafted movie. The story, I did not connect to at all. Although I do, I got a surprise Brie Larson appearance there towards the end.
That's always good.
And they're, always good. And then, so the main story is Ben Stiller is the brother to Chris Messina, who's going out of town. So he brings his brother in from New York, where he lives, back to LA, where he's from, to watch the dog and keep an eye on the house, but also to build a doghouse. The dog ends up getting sick, so now he has to start actually caring for this dog. So there's a scene where, a party ends up raging at this house, and he starts to actually care about the dog more than anything else that he has up to this point. So that's a real nice, he has changed. But yeah, it was just real hard for me to get through. It was only like 103 minutes, but it felt twice as long for me.
Yeah, I wasn't super into it because I watched this a couple of years after I saw The Squid and the Whale, which is a Baumbach movie I really like.
I should have watched that one because that one's on Prime right now, and it was this on HBO or that on Prime. I went with this one.
And I think it's soured me on him and thinking he's a one-trick pony because I didn't like Greenberg that much. But so obviously everyone's been singing the praises of Marriage Story. I still need to watch it. It'll happen. But
I think you'd like While We're Young as well, because Ben Stiller's almost the opposite in that one as he is here. He's a very likable guy that's just kind of at his wit's end as a documentary filmmaker because taste is changing so much that he doesn't know how to keep up. And he's trying to maintain relevance. So I like that one a lot.
There's a lot of good things said about Francis Ha as well.
That's another one I need to track down.
That was the one, because I think that's the one he did with Gerwig as well.
Right. That was a follow-up to this one.
Yeah, I think she wrote the script for that one. I don't know about Greenberg. But that one's really well regarded. I know some people think that's his best by far, including Marriage Story.
Interesting.
But yeah, there was and Mumblecore, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that brand of filmmaking, but it came out in the mid 2000s, like 2010-ish, and it was all really lo-fi filmmaking. Like the actors would just show up in the clothes they were wearing, and it was all just very like not quite cinema verite because there's still shot setups.
Matt, you make slowly creeping in.
But yeah, there's been good versions of it I've seen. Like there's one called Drinking Buddies with Jake Johnson and Olivia Wilde, Ron Livingston, and Anna Kendrick.
That sounds like my sort of movie.
It's basically about the relationship of those four and how they interconnect. Like I think Olivia Wilde and Jake Johnson are exes, and it's all very messy in the relationships, but it's actually like one of the realest like friend group movies I've seen. And then Jake Johnson did another one called Digging for Fire, where it's almost like Greenberg. Like they share a lot, that he's watching a house and he ends up finding like this artifact in the backyard, and it ends up becoming like his obsession, where it starts to cause problems with his wife because he's like, you're supposed to be working. He's like, no, I am working. This is my new job. And that was another one that I just thought was executed better. Maybe Baumbach's not the type to do that, because Marriage Story and While We're Young are both, they're not snappy, but there's a lot more going on from scene to scene than I felt that was in this one. So, I'm kind of bummed out because I do like all the creatives involved in this one.
Maybe he tried something different and it didn't quite
land.
land.
Yeah, and it didn't quite land, but
what he knew.
I do. I have a friend that he always surprises me because, like, he loves the biggest, stupidest action movies, but then he's also a really big fan of Kenneth Branagh's Shakespearean stuff. So it always just throws me. And he loved Francis Ha. That was like his top movie the year it came out. So it's been on my radar for a little bit, but I thought I didn't like Baumbach, right? Because I tried to watch Greenberg years ago and it just didn't land. But now, I don't know if taste change or whatever. But yeah, kind of bummed out that it didn't work out. That's all.
Yeah, that's what it is. Got another one, Connor?
Oh, I can give you a big stupid action movie that's not very good. Bloodshot.
I saw your drunk tweets and then they kind of disappeared.
I got bored of the movie. It's that dull. It's not even like horrifically, outrageously bad enough to really get into the tweeting of it. It's just
aggressively mediocre.
This is really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it was gonna break the box office though.
Yeah,
Remember?
it's if it had one more week, highest grossing movie of the year, I'm telling you.
That's a shame. So what was it? At least was it too boring action movie? Like, if that makes sense. Like not even fun. So say what you will about the Fast movies, they're big and dumb, but they know exactly what they are.
No, this was much more serious, or it took itself more serious. I don't want to say it's serious. If you're not familiar with the premise of Bloodshot, it's a soldier who basically died. Mm-hmm. And then is brought back to life with nanites that then heal him. And that's kind of the idea. Is he's got like a regenerative power sort of thing.
It's technological spawn.
Yeah, pretty much. The twist, however, is he's still owned by like the US government, the army, and they kind of mind wipe him after every mission. And they don't actually send him on missions. They kind of, when they wake him up, they tell him, "Hey, so, we only use unclaimed bodies." And he goes, "But my wife." And they're like, "Well, some bad news about that. This guy kind of killed her." And they send him, and they're like, "You want to go get revenge? Go on then, go get revenge." And basically just like let him go kill the guy that they want killing, and then bring him back and do the whole thing again. And so the first like half an hour of the movie is this loop, and it just goes on far too long, and it's boring, and the action's not particularly exciting to watch. It's a real it gets marginally more interesting once he kind of when you get to the point that he realizes he's in this loop and he's being lied to. Yeah, it's just dull. Like the action's not that fun to watch. It doesn't do anything inventive with anything that it could do. It's just a boring action movie, which is worse than a bad action movie.
Yeah, man. So I'm reading it right now about the movie, and the director I don't recognize. Like, he doesn't even have a wiki page. Like, you can't even click on him.
Good stuff.
But Stilinski and Leach are supposed to direct it. And could you imagine if those two, the guys that gave us John Wick, and then Atomic Blonde, and all these other spinoffs that are at least fun to watch.
Actually good. Yeah. There's a lot of movies in that style that even when they don't land, Or like Anna was one from last year.
Well, that was what's his name, the Fifth Element guy.
Besson.
Yeah. But it was very much a here's me doing John Wick, essentially, and it was an okay movie. It wasn't bad. But I mean the action looked good. I'll give it that. Like that action looked fun. It was way more fun to watch than Bloodshot was. If you've got the choice between them, and they're your only two choices, go watch Anna.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying there, I guess.
Yeah, or get better choices, I suppose, is also a valid option.
That too.
I'll change gears. I watched a classic. I watched In a Lonely Place from 1950. It's a Humphrey Bogart movie. directed by Nicholas Ray, and he plays this screenwriter who's got a temper. He's kind of acts out, and he might be violent. And he takes this young girl to his place, and it's just to help him because he's meant to adapt this book. He doesn't want to read it, so he brings her over because she's read the book, so she can tell him what happened in it. And so that happens, and he's got a bit of a temper and whatever. But he kind of says, "Okay, I'm ready to go to bed now. Go away." And he doesn't like walk her to a taxi or call her a cab. He just says, "Oh, there's a taxi rank around the corner. Off you go." And the girl turns up dead. And the police obviously question him. And his neighbour, who doesn't really know, but she saw her leave, so it kind of acts as his alibi as best as he can. And after she does that, they kind of like spark up a romance together, and she kind of falls for him. But the movie kind of becomes like, okay, but he does have a temper. Like, it starts to feel less and less, unlikely that he could kill someone. Like, he might be able to do that. Like, he may have that in him. So the movie's kind of about her kind of slowly starting to sort of like doubt herself and worry that she might be in danger, and so on. It's got a really good dramatic point when it ends, which I quite liked. I didn't like it as much as Nicholas Ray's other film that I saw, Bigger Than Life, which was a little bit later in the 50s. I thought that was a much more interesting film about a dad who he goes on medication because he has mental health issues. That one I thought was a really poignant film for its time. This does have some poignant beats, but it doesn't necessarily stick out as being exceptional. But it's just not a bad watch by any means. Bogart's good in it. It was quick 90 minutes as well. So that's In a Lonely Place. I thought that was not bad.
I didn't realize that Bogey was born in 1899.
Sure.
I just don't think about that because I always think of him as, not that he's immortal, but like.
I mean, it makes sense. When you think about it, Matt, given our age, there's going to be people, when we are in like 60s, 70s, they're going to be like, wait, you were born in the previous century? Whoa, like.
Well, I know that, but just like, I know Walt Disney was born in 1901, right? That checks out. But Bogart, who's 2 years older, being in 99, they're contemporaries. It just seems, I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't have thought that.
They feel like they're all different eras, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, it's weird.
Yeah. So that was from 1950. Matt, what else you got?
Movie-wise, what else did I watch?
You can lump a few together if you just want to.
What's that?
You can lump a few together if you want to just sort of fire through a couple.
Yeah. I did rewatch. Oh, I watched a Disney sports movie, which I'm always a sucker for. This one's Glory Road. It's from the same era as like Remember the Titans, which I'm a huge fan of. However saccharine that movie is, it just hits. Glory Road's about the 1966 Western Texas University team that was the first to have all African American players in the starting lineup. And it goes to the exact places that you'll think, and it's not that interesting. But like Disney was on a run from like 2000 to 2007 with these type of movies. Like you had Miracle in there, you had The Rookie, and they all kind of hit. This one just, I don't know if I'm not a basketball guy or if the story's not there. I mean, it's a fine story, but the movie didn't do much. But I was surprised that Mehcad Brooks, who's Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl, is one of the guys on the team. And then Sam Jones III, who is Pete on Smallville, Pete Ross, he's also on the team. So I thought that was pretty funny. The two of the guys that have been on Superman or super TV shows were both in this movie.
That's amusing.
Yeah, I rewatched Good Boys, which was on my top 10 list. So if people want to go research that. Still as hilarious. Still Stephen Merchant. I stand by everything I said. And that anytime Stephen Merchant shows up in a movie from 2019, it's going to be worth that. And I also rewatched Crawl, which was also on my list. Holy crap, the movie's so fun. I watched it with my wife, who was worried about the dog the entire time. So,
I love that Matt had both a surfing documentary and a sports movie in the same week. He's
and his monster movie slot from the year as well.
Yes. He's full Matt all the time apparently. There's no such thing as half Matt.
Yeah. No, there isn't. It's all or nothing, man. See, I couldn't watch a hockey because I just watched Mighty Ducks last week and I watched Miracle the week before, so I wasn't gonna go with Goon. Maybe next week. I don't know.
I go classic. We'll go with Slapshot. Watch some Paul Newman.
I don't have Slapshot, and it's not anywhere for free.
Okay.
So that's the thing as of right now. I have seen Slapshot. It's fine.
Give it a couple more weeks and he'll be paying for it.
Yeah, I'll be renting that. He'll be renting some Slapshot.
Yeah.
Carter, what else do you want to run through?
I've got one more good proper movie to talk about. Just remind me though, after we get to this section, we may have some news to talk about. So I don't want to forget.
Yes.
But the movie I want to talk about is Le Doulos. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's a French movie from the early 60s. It's a crime thriller, and it is the name translates to the Hat, and that's important because the opening of the movie tells you this is what the hat, this is what it translates to, and this is what it means, and it is essentially that it's a nickname for someone who's a police informant, and the whole idea of this movie is whether or not a friend betrayed, informed on their friends. And that's a big part of it, and whether or not they did, and who did or who didn't. So there's a lot of themes of people wearing hats at various points. One of the opening shots really early on is one of our main characters in a hat coming into this building, and he stops and looks in the mirror, and the mirror's cracked, so you have this double reflection, and you're like, okay, I really see where you're going with this. It's a really solid movie, actually. And I thought it was really good and well paced. And I thought I was going to give it it's like a 7.5. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes or so, which really brought everything together, did it in a way more satisfying than I would have expected. And really bumped it up a bit. It's worth checking out if you're interested in that sort of movie from that period. So it was pretty good.
Okay, interesting. I've got a few more to just kind of run through. I watched a couple last night and yesterday actually. I watched during the day. I watched another classic from 1957, just a kind of random one that was on Criterion. It ended up not being that great though. It was called The Burglar. It was the Burglar, sorry, the Burglar, the Burglar, and it's basically just this group of guys and a woman who steal this diamond necklace, but then it's mostly about them kind of trying to wait out the heat, sort of after the fact, and trying not to turn on each other, and it sounds like a really great idea, and it was great when Stanley Kubrick did it in The Killing. This one it was just kind of in the middle of the road kind of thing. It's one of those things where I'm so used to classic movies being great because typically you check out the ones that have got a reputation. This was kind of a random, just pick and mix, see how it is, and it was only just okay. So I wouldn't recommend it. The characters weren't that interesting or likable, which is kind of what made it sort of fall flat. And then I also watched a disappointing movie that I thought was going to be great called Runaway Train from the 80s, which stars Eric Roberts and what was his face? Voight. Robert Voight?
Jon Voight?
Jon Voight, thank you.
He was in Glory Road.
Yeah.
With prosthetics.
Oh, there you go.
Weird.
There you go. So, do you know what's so funny is that not that long ago, in fact, I probably talked about it on something at some point about watching Anaconda for the first time.
Oh boy, that's fun.
Right? And that
not as fun as Anaconda does. Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
Sure, but that was something I watched maybe 4 months ago, whatever it was, and I remember being gobsmacked at how bad his accent was in that. Right? Right? Yeah. He's got another bad accent in this movie. He's trying to do a New Jersey thing, but he's kind of slipping and sounding kind of weird at times, and it's odd. And Eric Roberts has got an accent as well. It the whole thing. Anyway, they're prisoners who escape a prison in Alaska. And we spend 30 minutes on this. This was also Danny Trejo's first movie. He's got a small role.
As a prisoner, I'm betting?
As a prisoner. And it turns out he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. He was on set because he was the sponsor of someone from Narcotics Anonymous. He was someone else's sponsor on set. And so he happened to be there for them, and they put him in the movies in a boxing scene in the prison.
Wow.
And that's how his movie career started. I know. That's the most interesting thing about this movie.
He's... As scary as that man looks, he'll always be Uncle Machete from Spy Kids to me. And up until this global pandemic, I always wanted to get a hug from Danny Trejo. and now that it'll never happen.
Oh, he seems like a really nice dude.
Yeah, he just seems like a nice... And so him being a sponsor for a guy on a film set completely makes sense. Yeah. From all the stories you hear about him. So that's real cool.
But yeah, so they end up sort of getting on a train. Obviously, it's cold. It's in Alaska, right? And they steal some clothes. They get onto a train. And just lo and behold, this train happens to... The guy who was conducting it or driving it, he has a heart attack or whatever, and he ends up falling off the train. So it's a runaway train. It's it's unstoppable or whatever. It's that happens in a train that happens to have 2 escaped convicts on it. And that's the plot. So it cuts a lot to the train circuits and the wardens kind of hunting the prisoners in a helicopter. It sounds like the most ridiculous 80s fun time. And unfortunately, it was just really dull. And part of it was because the two characters, despite the fact that you've got these known actors playing them, are really uninteresting. This was such a misfire to me. I was expecting a good fun time, if not a genuinely fun action movie, and it ended up just being really boring. And for some reason, Ebert apparently loved it and gave it like full 4 out of 4, which I hate the 4 out of 4 system. Terrible. But this was dull. I can't recommend this. This is a Blu-ray I had sitting on my shelf for years. Waste of money. I wish I could go back to 2014 and tell myself not to buy it. Waste of money.
Yeah. You're just really about that Eric Roberts, though. You know.
Yeah. Bigger fan of his daughter. His daughter's way better.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, she's not number one. That said, did I ever tell you the time we met Eric Roberts? Me and my friends, we went to the Expendables premiere here in town.
No, I did not hear
one
this.
of my friends yelled "Sharktopus" at him, and he looked like he was going to come over the rail and punch him. It's one of my favorite Eric Roberts moments.
Actually, final thing I want to say about this movie. So obviously we're bored watching this movie. I was watching it on stream last night, so naturally the chat start looking up things about the movie. Mm-hmm. Both Eric Roberts and Jon Voight, who are terrible in this movie, were nominated for Academy Awards for this movie. And basically all we could deduce is that it was a really bad year, and then maybe like Voight was getting this was like an honorary one because they never gave it to him for some other things that he deserved
From
it for.
85?
85, yeah. They were both nominated for actor and supporting actor respectively.
Oh my gosh. You know Kurosawa wrote the original screenplay?
Oh yeah, that was the interesting. Kurosawa was going to make this movie in the 60s, but then couldn't because of weather conditions. So they revived the script at Cannon. Yeah, you know what's you're in for a good time, and Cannon made the movie.
No, that's a Golden Globe. I said not only did Jon Voight get a nomination, he won, but that was for the Golden Globes, and those don't matter anyways.
Yeah.
Wow, it was up for Best Editing, Supporting Actor, and Actor. Yikes.
Yeah.
That was 85?
This was baffling to me. See when they said that to me, because I was like halfway through the movie at this point, and like I think David in chat said that, I was like F off.
Couldn't believe it.
No way. He's terrible. I this is almost cringeworthy, but it's not quite John Travolta in The Fanatic, but it's verging into that levels at some points. Like, it was terrible. It's not a good movie, really boring and dull. Not that I needed great acting for this movie, but the fact that it was heralded as a good movie for that, I can't understand. It was.
I'm seeing what was up for those awards.
Yeah.
So hold on, let's see.
Look at Best Actor. Who was up against Voight for Best Actor? What movies?
Let's see. Best Actor, you have William Hurt, who won for Kiss of the Spider Woman. Harrison Ford in Witness. Are you kidding me? Witness. John Book is one of the best characters he's ever played. That's up there with Han Solo in and
well, he got nominated, so I mean, don't be too mad at it.
James Garner in Murphy's Romance, Jack Nicholson in Preetzi's Honor, and John Voight in Runaway Train.
Imagine if he'd won.
I mean, this is also the year that Out of Africa won Best Picture. So
I should probably see Kiss of the Spider Woman's a movie I need to see. It's too good a title not to track that down at some point.
Who directed that one? Let me see. I think that's.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds William Hurt, Raul Julia, and Sonia Braga.
Raul Julia. Oh my. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hector Babenco. Yeah, and then supporting actor was Don Amici for
you younger folk. Raul Julia is Gomez from the Addams Family movies, and also Bison from the Street Fighter movie. Yeah. Just in case you
real quick.
Oh yeah, that's what anyone knows him from.
Of course.
Honestly,
yes.
The best part of that movie, he brought his
game
because he wanted to make that movie for his kid. No, he was super sick.
There's a legit good scene in that movie where he talks to like this woman who wants vengeance against him because he killed her village or whatever, and he describes the murder of all the people in the village, and you know for you it was the worst day of your life and you lost everything, your family was all dead, everyone you ever knew all burnt to the ground, and for me, it was Tuesday.
I would like to think that any younger people who are listening to this haven't had the misfortune of watching that movie at all.
Oh no, go watch it. It is a fun.
It's a hoot.
Time. Yeah, it is. It's Van Damme doing the splits, playing Guile with a Belgian accent.
Yep.
Like,
and then you also have Zangief's legitimately good comedy moment in it, where the truck full of explosives is going towards the building, and they're watching it on the security feed, the cameras, and he yells out loud, "Quick, change the channel!" as if he thinks that's going to help. That's a good line. It's a good joke.
So do you know why M. Bison's name is M. Bison in the American release?
I have no idea. No.
So they had to swap around the characters: Sagat, Vega, and M. Bison. So Balrog, Sagat. There's a whole big thing, but Balrog is supposed to be the Thai kickboxing character. Vega's supposed to be M. Bison. M. Bison was the boxer based off of Mike Tyson. But they were also worried about being sued that when they did the American release, they switched the names around.
In the video game, I assume you mean?
Yeah, in the video game.
Because I was going to say, no, Bison's always been Bison. That's what Bison looks like in the game. But yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yep. But when they, I think he was supposed to be Vega because he's supposed to be like a Comandante type character. So they moved them all around. So they wouldn't
shuffle them up, lucky dip.
Yeah.
Yep. And now Raul Julia plays M. Bison and acted his chops off.
Yeah. So Runaway Train may be the most interesting thing I watch, just because of all this weird stuff around it. But
yeah, it was nominated for a bunch of stuff, and I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Like I've heard Kiss of the Spider Woman, of course Witness. I love Witness, and Out of Africa.
I can't recommend it. I really wanted to. It sounds like such a fun movie on paper, but it wasn't that good.
I mean, also Chariots of Fire won in 1981 over Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the 80s are just weird.
Yeah, Matt's got a grudge with that one.
I do.
I'll just mention I watched The Great Alligator, which was the same director as Island of the Fishmen, but it was much more dull and not as fun as you think it might be. It was boring. So there you go. That's movies for the week. All right, so before we move on to the next section, Connor teased there was some breaking news, comic book related, to talk about.
Yeah, and I want to clarify this by saying it's not official. There is no official announcement, statements on anything. However, this is coming from Ryan Higgins, who is a prominent retailer, tends to have a bit of inside knowledge on things. And what he's tweeting is things that are coming from Diamond's end. Again, nothing officially, just their internal stuff moving around. And apparently a whole lot of books have moved to the final order cutoff date of the 20th of this month. Huh. And it seems to be those are the books that were scheduled to ship, over the last 2 weeks or so. And then a lot of the indie books dates are scheduled for the 13th and the 20th of May. So that means essentially, assuming this pans out, that the next, the 2 weeks of comics that are currently at, the Diamond have 1 week and 1 week are at the printers. They're all ready to go. They just need kind of shipping. That would put them to come out on the 29th of this month and then the 6th, theoretically. Again, worth noting, when DC originally pushed their stuff on Comixology, they did push to the 29th. They got rid of that event. They removed them entirely after that, but that was the date they first pushed to. So this would line up if that's where they're trying to get them out for. So it could be interesting. It's
one thing for them to try and do it for that day. It's another thing for them to actually do it on that day. So we'll see.
Yeah. Again, like I said, nothing official, but it's interesting. They're clearly looking at trying to make this sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we're getting 2 weeks worth of books in that one week, is it?
No. It'll be the 29th and then the 6th will be the 2 weeks that we've just missed, essentially.
Right. Yeah, but would that mean technically then, if they're not ready to keep printing stuff after that we'll be on a break again after 2 weeks of books?
I think they're assuming they'll be ready to keep printing because that's why they've got a lot of indie books scheduled for the 13th and the 20th, which is obviously the 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see.
I do know they still put out digital trades. Right, because I saw on Comixology they had the Robert Venditti Freedom Fighters book that came out this week. So I mean, that's good. They're putting out something. They also last week I think they put out the New Adventures of Batman, the follow up to the
digital first. Yes.
Yeah, that was digital first. Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah, it was still whenever we talked about it. Yeah.
So it's so good to see stuff show up. But yeah, man, I miss going to my comic shop. Man, Wednesdays feel empty.
Well, one thing Wednesday still does have is Dynamite, so we'll transition it to the wrestling talk right
Bye,
now.
Connor.
Cara requested that he wanted time to go get a drink, so that's why wrestling talks at this point. But we'll talk about Dynamite first, and I'm sure Matt wants to talk about a little bit about WrestleMania and stuff after. We'll start with Dynamite. Obviously, I think the weird thing about these shows right now with no crowd, and obviously we know that this wasn't live this week. They pre-taped this in the next 2 or 3 weeks worth of Dynamites all last week, so it feels less guilty to watch it because you know that they're not actually there doing all this now. They're actually all at home now, in lockdown like everyone else, which is good. But it's very clear watching it that they only had a certain small roster to work with because so many couldn't come. Like, you'll notice that over these weeks there's been no Bucks, there's been no Paige, there's been no MJF, there's like tons of people who are just not there.
Right.
But they're doing the best they can without that. And there was some notable stuff this week. I think, honestly, the highlight for the show for me might have been the women's match. Brett versus Shida. And the match itself, like, it was fine, but it was a character work.
Yeah, it was probably the best match out of both of them. We know that Shida can work, right? We've seen her up to this point. She's been in multi-women matches, and she always comes out. She's great. She's of that Asuka mold where whatever they choose to do with her, she's gonna succeed, right? Britt was someone that I had heard a lot of good things off coming from the indies. Beyond that, that's Adam Cole's girlfriend, right? Yet nothing I had seen up to this point, up to her first heel promo, nothing that had justified the hype. And I don't know if they were just trying to make her the babyface or what, but over the last month and a half, she's really coming to her own, and this is easily her best match in ring.
Yeah, it was the week after the cruise, so it's probably the last 2 or so months.
2 months then.
Our promos have been great. There was a lot of good stuff in here. The way she sort of laid down like a school teenager and smiled at the guns after she did a Fame-Asser. Way she actually gets her nose broken here. And there's blood pouring out, right? So it's a great visual. She has this blood in her face, which was unintentional, seemingly. Yep. But there was a great moment towards the end where she's going for the lockjaw, right? She's got the arms hooked, and she wants to do the mandible claw part of it, but she starts yelling at the ref to give her his glove so that she can do it because she doesn't want to put her hand in her mouth. So that was like a neat little way of tying it into current events. Like, oh no, I can't put my hand in her mouth. I need a glove. I need a glove, even though they're rolling around sweaty together anyway. So I mean, the fact too that the ref was wearing gloves because of blood, which if you know wrestling, anytime there's blood, the ref pulls gloves out of their back pocket to put on. So the fact that she's asking him for gloves was that's not anything you can plan, right? That is spur of the moment. Yeah, and even more so Shida gets the win because they're kind of pushing Shida right now to be the next contender for the title. But there was a promo with Britt Lair where she's asked about the match or whatever, and she does her thing, and she does a lot of great facial expression where she looks kind of maniacal with the blood on her face. Yeah. But she's like, oh, she's lucky she never done it, busted my teeth. And then there's a pause, and then she clearly ad-libs this and goes, but that would be okay because I'm a dentist, and it just walks off. And it was the perfect delivery of a line that couldn't have been planned because the broken nose wasn't planned. It was obviously it wasn't planned. So that was really good stuff. Yeah, very, 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 very good. And then the other match these shows have been kind of light on matches and heavy on supplemental story stuff, which I'm okay with because I view wrestling as a multimedia, presentation. So the fact that you've had, you can mix in wrestling with vignettes with other things. If I'm picking my perfect balance, it's definitely less, more towards what it was before. But and then this current what's going on right now, of course, it's going to be more video package heavy. That's fine. I don't know if you ever watched Lucha Underground, but Lucha Underground was heavy with the wrestling, but for its hour, maybe a third of it was out of ring promos and story beats that were shot like a film. And I really like that. It adds to this heightened reality that is wrestling. And it may just be the comic book fan in me that loves all that stuff. But here, the way that they're handling it. That said, the matches they gave us this week with Kenny, this was Kenny versus the Best Friends, Kenny and Nakazawa. This was really good. What was great about this is that it was really fun. All of Nakazawa's spots were great. I loved how Spears was in the crowd and Spears has been looking at Nakazawa as a potential partner. The most I've ever liked Spears is when it cut back to Spears in the middle of this match and he went, what's with all the baby oil? Why does he keep using the baby oil?
Yeah.
Like, that actually made me laugh.
Well, and the fact that you have the team like the Best Friends, who the comedy spots work out. When Nakazawa covered himself in the baby oil, and then Trent tried to knife edge chop him, and it kept sliding. It should have got to a point where it wasn't funny anymore. But because those two guys are so good at comedy, it was funny every time.
Or even just the setup to the match where Nakazawa's suggesting they call themselves the Best Friends, and then Orange Cassidy comes out of the bathroom in their trailer, and the Best Friends goes like, yeah, we heard everything. You're trying to take our names. Like, well, we'll fight you for it then. You know, the winner of the match gets to keep the name. So, I mean, it told us that the Best Friends were going to win, but they should win because they're the actual tag team, right?
Right.
It makes sense. But what made this match even better than all this, and we have to mention this at some point, is the commentary. Shivani and Jericho in commentary. Like, see if Jericho wants to be a commentator when he's done actual wrestling, he can do that for the rest of his life. He's great. So,
were they on site, or was this after the fact?
I don't know how they recorded the commentary. They weren't in the room with them, for sure.
Yeah.
But
so, because if that's Jericho having time to prepare, like, yeah, get him on commentary every time. Like, he was so good. He knows how to put people over. And even stuff like when he would talk about Moxley, when they would come out of those, he would still put him over, but talk about how much of a dirtbag he is.
Oh yeah, that's what's so good about him is he will make fun of the things that make sense for him to be making fun of, given his character, but he still puts everyone over as a threat or a credible fighter, as a credible whatever, you know?
Right, and I always remember because I used to listen to his podcast every week, and I don't listen as much anymore just because I have a bunch of other stuff. But he would always talk about when he was coming up, if you're fighting an old guy, you don't make fun of him for being old, right? You put over the fact that he's experienced and he's been at this longer. Because if you win, you're the guy that beat up an old guy. But if you win after putting that guy over for all of his experience, you're the young dude that overcame the veteran.
Yeah.
And that's simple storytelling, and that's what wrestling is.
I loved them trying to like name the moves in this that they didn't know was cracking me up. Yep. You know, at one point they called it a hentai slide or something like that, and like Jericho's trying to explain what hentai is. There was a lot of weird.
And Shivani almost cracked 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah, actually there was a moment where Jericho corpsed at his own joke, where he started laughing in the middle of his own joke, and he couldn't help it because it was just too funny.
Yeah. But that fits in with Le Champion Jericho laughing at his own joke. So,
or even Shivani, every so often he would say, "Oh, did you set the hounds on him?" Like he kept asking if he set the hounds on him based on last week's joke. It was entertaining.
Yeah. I was telling Pete, I don't pay attention to commentary as much because coming up as a WWE fan, you kind of tune out the commentary because for a long time it was JBL and Cole, and I don't need that. So I don't listen to commentary as much as I should. Plus Mauro Ranallo, I know he has his fans. He gets on my nerves. So you tune stuff out. So to have me paying attention to what Jericho's saying, that's just, he is a GOAT. Like if I had to make a favorite wrestlers or greatest wrestlers, he's in that top 5, no matter what, you know?
Yep.
Just because how long he's been around, he's good at everything. You need him to be the good guy, he's great. You need him to be the bad guy, he's even better. You need him to commentate, ref, do whatever. Like, he's just fantastic.
Yeah.
That was
great all night. Made the match really entertaining. The whole thing was entertaining. Couple of squash matches again. Lance Archer killed a dude. Brody Lee killed a dude. I think what really worked about these 2 matches for me is that if you're going to do a quick squash match, and both of these had this, they both had that one ridiculous move that was really noticeable and memorable. With Lance, it was the over the head choke slam. With Brody, he did like a springboard senton thing to the dude, and it was like, okay, both of those were memorable moments that made me remember those matches.
Yeah, up and over on the ropes like a damn cruiserweight.
Yep.
Brody Lee. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I went into our group and I said, "Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm a Murder Hawk guy." Just because Lance Archer, I put him over last week too. He was great in this year's G1. He was someone in New Japan I never paid much attention to, right? But he was always this big, scary monster. This year's G1, though, brought out the best of him, and now he's bringing that to AEW. He knows his character perfectly. He can execute the types of moves he needs to. On social media, he seems to not be playing the character, which I'm always kind of a fan of. Like, there's a time and place for that. Like, Matt Hardy right now, you want him to be Damascus the full time. But, like, him, like, so Kevin Nash tried to kind of not bury. That's not the right word, but he tried to call out Murder Hawk for that's not a move you can do to the whole roster, and he respectfully showed him, he's like, nah, yeah, it took a little bit of help, but I did this to Bad Luck Fale in New Japan, so yes, I can, but thank you for paying attention to me, and you're just like, oh, that's how you settle real business, like he's doing all the things right, and the fact that he's been around for forever, yet now he is shining. That's a testament to, himself and AEW when you think about it.
Yeah, and give him Jake doing promos on his behalf, and you have gold. That's really much to say.
Plus a banger of a theme song.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Everybody Dies. So good.
Oh, Matt's new music is great as well. He had a little promo where he talked about Sammy Guevara being a false god.
Samuel Guevara is a false god. He has no Spanish. Oh man, my wife hates Broken Matt Hardy. She cannot stand him. So the fact that he is back, I just get looks like don't even start the yes laugh. Do not do it. So yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end he invites Chris Jericho to a match on his compound and calls it the Elite Deletion, which is amazing. So I'm all for all of this. Very entertaining. We had the first match in the tournament for the TNT Championship. We had Cody versus Spears. It was much better than it had any right to be. One of my favorite things of the night, this was actually more so in the tag match actually, but there was a moment in the tag match when they were doing all their crazy shit with the baby oil, they were doing all their crazy little comedy spots, where Aubrey in the middle of the match just looked like she was pissed off. She's like, you know what, I'm done with this shit. I'm done with this. I can't be arsed with this anymore. And it was kind of the same in the main event with the tournament match, where they started using tables and guardrails and all sorts of things, and Aubrey's just, you know what, I can't even be arsed disqualifying anyone. I'm not doing this.
We're just gonna let it ride. Also, Pineapple Pete, Jericho getting that guy over in the crowd, him being mad that he was getting involved in things.
Yeah, he's got a match this week on Dynamite.
Yep, yes he does, and he has a shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. Yeah. Now,
which by the way, they signed Anna Jay. That was the woman who fought Shida like 2 weeks ago.
Last week,
whatever it was. She's actually signed now officially, which is cool because she was good. She was good on her first showing. The first tournament match was solid. The ending, some people don't like the ending because the pin in the figure four. I didn't hate it, but
it's fine by me. I'm tired of seeing people eat like 4 crossroads. So if he's going to change it up and he's going to do that move, which I feel only heel Cody should use the figure 4, but that's just me. I don't mind it. I always wonder why people don't try to get the pin with the figure 4. Why is it only a submission?
I mean, if I have a critique about AEW right now, it's just that because there's more packages and because there was 2 Moxley Hager packages, there's definitely more stuff that I'm happy to just kind of fast forward through a little bit because there's less actual thing. I'll tell you this, because it's not live right now, there's no actual matches in the ad breaks, so there was nothing on Fight TV. It was just like music for like the ad breaks, which was weird. But I guess because they've edited it just so that we'll just have all the good stuff be before and after the break. They don't need to have anything.
So you sound like you didn't like those packages from Hager and Moxley.
As soon as Hager starts talking, I just want to fast forward. He's just
yeah, I get that. But see, this is, I think, the sports fan in me versus the non-sports fan in you. These feel like the HBO 24/7 specials.
Sure.
Where in the lead to boxing matches or MMA matches, or they've done it for hockey too. I love it. These, while I don't take Hager that seriously, or his wife for that matter, I thought this was the best way to build him, because if you want to treat him like a legitimate sports guy, this is the way to do it. I also want to point out Moxley, where he was running in the desert, that's by my work. That is literally 250 yards away from my workplace. I know that trail. I know the park that he was at. His neighborhood, I know where those cross streets are. So I thought that was funny. And I thought the way that he said this, where it's like, yeah, everyone keeps saying he's a threat because he's a real fighter, but this is an empty arena, no DQ style match.
Which is
I'm
going
to be ready for him.
For the record, that's next week's Dynamite.
And he's going to be ready. So it's not just the sheer, athleticism of Hager. He's got, Moxley has tricks up his sleeve. There's a former deathmatch wrestler. Like, it's not going to be easy. So
I mean, don't worry. I'd hate this if it was a pay-per-view build-up, but because it's a TV match, it's fine. This is, Hager does not belong in a pay-per-view main event with Moxley, but in a TV match, cool. So we have another match of the tournament next week as well. We have Archer versus, I think it's Colt Cabana, which good luck to him. He's
boom boom.
He's getting put down. So that's next week, and Jericho's back on commentary, and seems to be it seems like Jericho's going to be in commentary in all the taped episodes that they did last week, which is cool with me.
Fine by me. Give Jericho all the time in the world. I was a big fan of that guy, but it's growing with his AEW presence.
And Britt's going to be in a match. They didn't say who, which means it's probably going to be a jobber, but that's fine.
Which tells me wherever they're shooting at is in Florida, because there's a ton of wrestlers that live in Florida, so it's easy for them to get around. Plus, Florida's not the best at locking down right now, so they have a little bit more leeway. But yeah, it would make sense for her to be at all of these, because she's been at every taped one thus far, every empty one.
Anna Jay got signed after being the jobber in a match with someone. So if a couple of these others, if Pineapple Pete gets picked up because they like his work next week, then great, It gives these indies a chance to do something when almost nothing else is running.
Right, and in other news, the Revival from WWE, who had some of the best tag team matches, they got unconditionally released yesterday as we record this from the WWE. They famously had a social media feud with the Young Bucks, where the hashtag FTR came from.
Everyone's been expecting them to go AEW for like a year. It's been a long build. I saw someone online suggest this week, and I thought this was really funny. That how Spears is looking for a tag partner. That Tully would leave Spears and go and manage the Revival, because he's like, what, Spears, you're a lost cause. I'm going to go with the Revival. That's a hilarious idea to me. I want it to happen. It's perfect.
Well, because that's who they're basing themselves off of. It was Tully and Arn, right?
Yeah. Although they can't use the name of the Revival, they're going to have to change the name, which is fine. Whatever.
That's fine. There's whatever they change it to, it'll be fine. They also changed their names to some very, very bad ones. Dash Wilder became Cash something, and Dawson became Dax Hardwood, which just does not sound like a wrestling name.
How about the Rebirth?
The Rebirth, that'd be good.
Give me the Rebirth. Actually, there was one more thing I want to talk about wrestling-wise, actually, and I think I want to talk about this last week, and I'd forgotten to bring it up, but I watched the new one this week, Dark Side of the Ring. So I watched the 2 Benoit episodes. I've not seen the New Jack one yet, but I watched the Brawl for All one this week. And so I remember seeing the Brawl for All, because I was watching in '98 when that happened, but I'd forgotten a lot of it. It was kind of vague memories at best. Yeah. Do you know what? Right. So Bart got I sided with, because he's basically, okay, so it was this real boxing kind of tournament, right, that we're doing. And basically his thing was that on day one, he was put with Steve Williams, Dr. Death, who was meant to be this guy who's getting this big push. He's going to have a run with Austin, all these things. And they basically you're just been put in there to lose in the first round. But it's a real fight. It's not a worked wrestling match. And Bart Gunn's like, I think I may have a chance or whatever, and people started making fun. I was like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, you're going to maybe knock out Dr. Steve, and so it's hard not to watch that footage when they show the clips of the match, and when he puts them down, it's like, I'm proud of it. I'm happy that he did this, because everyone was doubting him. Vince Russo is a goddamn idiot, and that's not that that's news, right? But the fact that he did all this because he wanted to see Bradshaw get knocked out. There was smarter ways to go about that than putting all these other people in danger. I just want to put that out there.
Bart Gunn, heavy right hand. That's sometimes all you need. Although he got completely annihilated by Butterbean, which, who thought that was a good idea?
Well, there was an interesting detail actually at the end of that when they said that had he still fought like a brawl, like in a bar fight, like he had the previous matches, he might have had a chance. But because he tried to wrestle a boxing match instead, you know what? I won't wrestle, but you know what I mean. That's a stupid way of saying it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean that's the whole idea of MMA, right? Was to put two different styles together. Now it's all become kind of one style. But back in the day, so I get what they were trying to do. However, there's nobody like Butterbean. There's a reason why he was a special attraction boxer and never a title holder. Because once you get hit by Butterbean, you're staying down. That's just it. Once he connects, so he never had a chance. I steered clear of the Benoit episode because I know it's so dark and depressing.
Honestly, it's worth a watch. It's a really interesting two-parter. All the stuff with him and Eddie, and like it was like, Benoit lost his spouse when Eddie died, and not to say that anyone speculated that there was actually some sort of relationship like that, but just in the way that he felt it, it was. They
were brothers. Like, they went through Japan together, ECW, WCW, WWE. They were always there for each other. I mean, it was the real four horsemen of that era was Jericho, Malenko,
Yeah.
Benoit, and Eddie. And they were inseparable. Like, they all worked out. Like, I remember Jericho talking that Eddie and Benoit would make fun of Malenko and Jericho for not eating as healthy as they could. Like, Jericho would go get a cheeseburger and they would call him fat ass and whatnot. And, you know, but so there was like family bullying, for lack of a better term. They all loved each other, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, so yeah.
I mean, it was a warning story about, you know, steroid abuse, a warning story about, you know, chair headshots and things like that. Just all these things that obviously we've heard about, but seeing it all laid out in order like that was really kind of like something. And
it's why unprotected headshots make me cringe. And, you know, with Spears versus Cody, we kept seeing that one from Fighter Fest or whatever.
Yeah. But it's notable that, you know, that was one time which they admitted was a mistake. It was supposed to be gimmicked and they made a mistake.
Right.
You know, that was something that used to happen multiple times a week to some guys, you know, back in the 90s and in the early 2000s.
And even my local promotion, when they would do it and they wouldn't get their hands up in time, I would always yell CTE is a real thing, right? Like, I understand you guys are trying to put on a show, but protect yourselves. Like, we don't need any of this type of stuff. Yeah. It's scary, man. It's just
I mean, they flat out talk about, you know, but the fact that Benoit's brain was like that of a 90-year-old, the fact that you know, like, yeah, no one should forgive him for what he did, but ultimately, like, his brain was significantly damaged because of years of what he did to his body, and that's, you know, played a part in what his decision making process was like at the time. So. Crazy stuff. But well, so go on. Tell me about the Boneyard match and whatever other crazy shit happened at WrestleMania.
Boneyard match. So I'm not an Undertaker guy. Real quick, I'll make this quick for Connor. I'm not an Undertaker guy. I'm not an AJ Styles guy. Styles was great. I'm not a fan of his character. Taker, however, I get the mystique, but he's not who he was. Like, for me, his last match should have been the WrestleMania 30. He lost to Brock. That's it. So this was a match I did not care about. It was supposed to be Buried Alive in Tampa. They called an audible and shot it cinematic style, like, you know, which this is what Matt Hardy's gift to wrestling is. Because of the final deletion, we're able to have these mainstream cinematic style matches. And they have a complete Boneyard match. It starts with a hearse coming in to the funeral dirge. It opens up and it's AJ Styles. And he has never been more of a little shit. And Undertaker comes up, not his Rollin' theme. He uses a brand new not brand new, but a newer Metallica song, right? Coming up on the motorcycle. And they have a 1980s action movie style fight through a what looks like motorcycle garage in a swamp. Where at one point Taker gets actually cut open on his elbow. I guess they kept rolling. The club shows up and Taker has to take them out. Druids show up out of nowhere to attack Undertaker. None of it makes any sense, but it's like an 80s action movie. You're just rolling with it. And towards the end, AJ's getting the shit kicked out of him. And you're like, oh my God, this is what Taker needed to rebound after years of bad matches. Just, if he can do matches like this going forward, you buy that a 50-plus-year-old man with bad hips can still be a physical presence, you know? It helps that AJ is one of the best wrestlers in the world as well, and he's pretty creative. But it was so much fun. And then you had Goldberg versus Braun in a 5 or 6 move match for the title that just WWE's in a WWE. It was terrible.
Wasn't the Lesnar McIntyre match the same thing? Just the finisher. Yeah.
That's what I was going to get to. If you're going to do that once, fine. But then you do it twice. And when you have Brock who can go, you have McIntyre who you built to be this Scottish monster who could go toe-to-toe with the Beast. Yet you have a couple F5s and a German, and then Drew's finisher, the Claymore, and that's it. And the title changes hands and Brock's whatever. It's AEW. That's not the match to talk about, though, because you also had while it wasn't a match, a presentation of the Firefly Funhouse of Cena versus The Fiend. That this is how they should have been using The Fiend from the beginning. That it is a match where Cena comes out to the Performance Center to have a match, and then it's almost as if it enters his mind, and it's every doubt, every decision, everything. You see Cena join the NWO. You see The Fiend or Bray Wyatt as Eric Bischoff, bringing John Cena out as the fourth man. And it's hard to describe, but it's basically if David Lynch did wrestling. So, Pete, I'm telling you, got to check that one out at least. If you're going to have time. It's dream logic. One thing goes to another. It replays most of Cena's prominent things with Wyatt playing the opposite side. And yeah, it was a fitting use of both guys. And I can't, there's a lot of people that weren't a fan of it because it wasn't a match per se, but I'm okay with that. The Fiend should be a medical, physical threat where, we talk about the metaverse. If anybody should have the power to access the wrestling metaverse, it is the Fiend. WWE shot themselves in the feet many times now where they made the Funhouse an actual physical place with Seth Rollins and whatnot. And they had Goldberg bury him at Saudi Arabia. It just in a terrible, terrible thing. This is how you build him back up. And if they're going to have to do this type of stuff going forward, I feel this is how you do it. It was fantastic. So those are the two standouts from WrestleMania. I didn't really watch too much of the other stuff, just because it's empty arena. I'm not that
it was like 18,
invested in WWE.
It was like 18 matches over 2 nights. It was like
2 days, yeah, too much. I will say Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn was very good. Which, I mean, come on, of course it was.
Well, it's two of the best. So I mean,
yeah,
of
course it's going to be good. And I want to talk about NXT real quick because I got caught up. They did Gargano versus Ciampa, which is a match or a storyline that I've been invested in for the past what feels like 5 years of my life. And this was going to be the one to end it all. They did it in an empty warehouse, cinematic style. While the match wasn't the best, there's far too many cuts. It was too much of a brawl, not enough of a match. When you have those two guys who could have a match, although out of everything they've done, what else is there to do? The story they told here, where they effectively did a double turn with Gargano and Ciampa, where at the beginning of the match, you have Candice, who's Gargano's wife, give him something wrapped up in a package, and she just has this look like, I'm over this, and she drops him off. And he fights Ciampa. They go back and forth. Candice finally shows up. It basically yells at Johnny, like, I've had enough, we're done. And she goes to leave, and Johnny gives Ciampa that look, like, this is all your fault. You've ruined my life. And Candice kicks Johnny in the junk. And he's down, and it looks like Ciampa's just going to end things, and he pulls down, and he looks at him, and he has, like, this, what have I done? And as he is having this look, Candice comes from behind and kicks him in the junk. And out of Johnny, out of his pants, he pulls out a cup. And it looks like Candice had a heel turn along with Johnny. And Ciampa has this, like, Frankenstein and his monster kind of thing. Like, what have I done? That part of the story, if this is where this was all supposed to go and we got delayed a year because of Ciampa's neck injury and whatnot, everything makes sense. It actually lines up, whereas wrestling doesn't ever have to make sense, right? This story, from every turn to Johnny's eventual turn to the dark side because he's been pushed this way, or over Ciampa's turning, it all adds up for me, and it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen wrestling-wise. I'm also very biased because I love Johnny Gargano, and I've lost my voice booing at Ciampa, like, in person. So, yeah, I would recommend that, but it is part of a story. It'd almost be like going to see Rise of Skywalker to not having ever seen a Star Wars movie. So, like, you would need all the beats of Gargano versus Ciampa from them being put together for the first Dusty to the Cruiserweight championship match that they had, to all of their tag team stuff. Like, this was supposed to be the end, but it feels like this is just a pause, and it's going to continue down the line. So yeah, those are the 3 best things that come out of WrestleMania. Very, very. I don't think they should have done it. That's just me, though. I think they should have had a place or holdover until they could actually do this again. And this is a year without a Mania.
Yeah, I feel like they've been fighting to just skip a year and be back when there's like you can actually have a crowd. So it's actually a Mania.
Mania has a name brand to it, and I just felt this taints it a little bit. Like, sure, you had the Boneyard match, right? And you had the Fiend versus Cena in the Firefly Funhouse. But the rest of it, like, the two main title matches have the same exact pace to it. Like, if you're going to do one, don't do the other.
It's now going to be trivia forever that 30... Is it 36 this year?
36, yep.
36 was the one with no crowd. 36 was the one,
right?
Because of the virus, they couldn't do a proper Mania.
Yeah, and props to all the people that showed up and put their heart into it, you know, not just the wrestlers, but the cameramen, the refs, all of that. Because you could tell that there were people that did care, right? Like, the first night had Baszler versus Becky Lynch for the women's title. And it was a fine match. I mean, the ending was something that we've seen, and it's the same thing over, but they were really laying punches and kicks in. Like, to the fact that they have to cover for no crowd reaction.
Yeah, I was going to say that. They almost have to be harder because you can hear if it's fake because there's no crowd covering up.
And Shayna's a legit MMA fighter. Like, she is. So props to both of them for putting their bodies on the line and whatnot for our entertainment. And, you know, but all that said, they could have had a placeholder. This could have been, you know, Wrestlemania ... you know, whatever, make it a special, you know, and save 36 for next year, you know, because Vince wanted to get away from the numbers anyways, because it makes it seem old when you get up to that, you know. So just make this Mania, you know, Performance Center, or Mania at WrestleMania in your house, right? Like, you know, so whatever. So yeah, I think that's wrestling for the week. Yeah, so Connor, we can bring you back in.
Yeah, we can talk about something else. We'll go to video games next. I don't know. Obviously, I don't. Matt's probably been playing much, but Connor, you been playing much this week?
Not a ton. I was hoping to be playing Final Fantasy VII Remake by now, but the post is running a little slow. It was shipped out on Wednesday. We're recording this now on Saturday. It was shipped out on Wednesday, hopefully to arrive Thursday, but didn't happen. It was first class post, but you know, whatever. Times are making things run slow. I get that. The problem is usually that would be okay, fine. It'll probably arrive Friday, if not Saturday. However, Friday was Good Friday, which is a bank holiday, so no post. Saturday's today, it didn't arrive. Sunday is no post. Monday is a bank holiday for Easter Monday, so it won't arrive then, so there'll be no post. So I won't get it till Tuesday now, which is really goddamn annoying. So I'll be talking about that next week for sure. In the meantime, I've actually just been playing Call of Duty, just grinding out multiplayer for Modern Warfare, finishing off Season 2 with that finished last week. And then once that finished, I haven't jumped into Season 3 yet. I actually hopped over to the Modern Warfare remaster, and I've been playing through the story for that on the hardest difficulty. I'm about 3 missions from the end. I was doing that before I jump into Modern Warfare 2 remaster. I forgot how good that game actually is. It's dated a little in the sense of it's very much of that time where it's follow missions. You know, you just follow the group, and you're very much just the camera, and you know you shoot obviously, but you know you're not a participant in the story. There is.
It is.
No, because the story that's happening around you with all the other characters in your squad is really quite good.
Bunch of boring soldier dudes.
Especially over the course of the trilogy.
I should say I don't like first-person shooters, though.
Yeah, I mean that's not for you. Obviously.
I need a character to connect to. Through this.
No, I get that. So. But there is a mission towards the end called All Gillied Up, and it's a mission that I remember. If you said that name to me, I'd immediately know the mission. It's a particularly memorable mission.
Please tell me you were in a ghillie suit and you have to hide in trees.
Yeah, well, a lot more, you know, tall grass than trees, but you're obviously wearing a ghillie suit. It's set.
Yeah.
I mean, this came out about 10 years ago now, so you know, late 2000s, let's say 2008, 2009, and it was set 15 years ago. This mission, it's a like a backstory mission, and it's in Chernobyl, and it's you, and you're playing as your current, like your captain of your squad. You actually play as him for the mission, and it's his captain of the time, this Scottish captain. And it's basically the two of you going through Chernobyl, like this, you know, the abandoned
exclusion
city. Yeah, and like, and it's.
Did you find the graphite?
No, although I'm sure it was probably around somewhere.
Did Reactor 4 go?
But it is a phenomenally paced mission of just this, because it's more on the rails than most of the missions, even, where there is a set path you have to follow, and you have to sneak past these enemies. You have to take these enemies out at this time with your captain, and it has such excellent tension, and of like, oh my god, are you gonna get spotted, and you've got to take them out like. You got like a really
the
short
Spider-Man
window.
missions I wasn't that much of a fan of in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it's all about that pacing and the atmosphere of just walking through this desolate place that is by all accounts actually a really faithful recreation of the real place.
That's cool.
I've seen some like side by side shots. That's really impressive looking.
If Jared Harris wasn't there warning you about the rotogens, then I don't want to know.
Yeah, way too late for that. But real good mission.
Okay, so I did play some more Resident Evil 3, obviously, sort of earlier in the week. But I didn't play it all week. I kind of, after my 6th playthrough, I went, you know what, I'm going to take a break from this. I just started yesterday, Pillars of Eternity. Didn't get super far yet, only just kind of created my character and went through kind of the tutorial area mode, for lack of a better term. I'm not entirely sure I picked a class that I like. I might start again with a new class.
That was my. I played about this game? 3 hours of that game. It's a really dense, text-heavy RPG.
It's an old school RPG where you have like a party, but you have your main character you make at the start. And I am really guilty in games like this of always being a human and always being either just a ranged fighter or whatever, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be different. I'm going to take something with some spells or something, and I'm going to be something another species, and I'm going to do something different. And I like my species. I'm happy with all that stuff. But I picked Priest for my character, and when I actually got to my first combat and I looked at my spells and I went, I don't think I like these spells that much. That seems kind of boring.
Priest is a healer.
Very healer character.
Yeah. Well, the description did not make it clear. I was reading.
So
the
you're
fact that
like
Matt can get that off the name alone should probably give you a clue.
Shut up.
I also like the stuff. Like, I wish I had a group to play Dungeons and Dragons with. Right.
Sure.
I love the idea. So once I learned about this stuff, like earlier in my life, I threw myself into it. It was really the Star Wars ones, the Old Republic, trying to find the difference in the Jedi, Consular, Knight, and all these different ones, and the healing class. So Pete, you're typically like a ranged, like almost like a ranger type, bow and arrow from a distance. You don't like to get in the middle and mix it up. No magic.
Yeah, if we're talking a fantasy setting, then that's
well, I'm trying to think of what that is. If this is superhero, you're a Green Arrow type, then, right? You don't get up in there, I mean,
if it was in the context of like a superhero world, I might feel differently because it's not, like
right.
If you're telling me like I can be Green Arrow or I can be Superman, I may pick Superman.
This is very much traditional sword and sorcery. You've got your front line is cut into like barbarians, paladins, that sort of thing. I think I chose to be a paladin, and it was all right. But I was like, you know what, this is I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, so I'm not too far. I might start again with a different class. I'll keep everything else the same and just change my class. But it's Obsidian that made it to known for their RPGs. But the text and the voice acting for some of the text is quite good so far. And
it's good.
Yeah, I actually really liked what I played. I played about 3 hours or so. I got past the first village and everything, but then I was like, I kind of want to play a different character. I'm not feeling my character, and I do this a lot with these sort of RPGs where I get a few hours in, I'm like, not feeling this character. I need to start again. And once I got a feel for how the game plays, I know what I want to do.
I really wanted to play an RPG. And of course, some people were like, well, Final Fantasy VII Remake's out. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. But, I mean, it's full price, for a start. And second...
So did they change anything in this? Or is it just a higher res version?
Oh, the combat's completely different. Yeah, the combat's completely different.
Basically, the first, like, in the original game, the first, 5 to 6 hour section, maybe slightly longer depending on how you play it, is in Midgar. That's the city that you're in. This is then blown up into a full 30 to 40 hour game for this first Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is essentially part one. It doesn't say that on the box, but they've been very open about that since it was announced.
So where's the break? Is Eris the break?
I'm not sure of the exact moments. but it's just that first city.
So there's going to be a Final Fantasy 7 2. That's what's going to happen in like 3 or 4 years.
At least a 2, maybe a 3, depending on who you ask and how they split.
I remember I got to Yuffie and then I got bored in the original, so I never even finished.
I played the demo for the remake. I got a little bit bored of the combat, but I mean it's early on, so there's not a lot of skills or whatever yet that you can actually use.
It's like Kingdom Hearts style RPG, where you make your group. And they're all kind of.
I've never played Kingdom Hearts, so I don't know what to tell you.
That first game was fun.
I never played it. From what I've seen of, I saw when the third one came out. I mean, visually, stylistically, not a million miles away, I guess.
So, but it's not turn-based, like it was originally.
Yeah,
which was always
because I would actually dig a turn-based game. Pillars of Eternity is not actually turn-based though. It's got like a pause mechanic where you pause, you give your orders out to your party, and then you unpause it.
Just for the sake of it, it's the Knights of the Old Republic system.
Gotcha.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It's exactly the same as that. I mean, slightly modernized, but if you're familiar with that, you've got this one. Because it is very much it's a D&D game. As Knights of the Old Republic was, it's based on those this rule set. It just does the rolls in real time.
Yeah. I also I've been dabbling in Golf with Your Friends, which was a cheap game on Steam, which is a really fun little mini golf game to play. I played with some people on stream during the week, and it got heated. It got heated. Yeah. Well, when you're
Scotsman getting heated over golf, who would have guessed?
When you're on the you're on one of those courses where the putt's like up a little hill and you keep just not hitting it hard enough, so it keeps rolling back down the hill. So you get really frustrated.
The last time I was in California, we went for Ashley's birthday to Knott's Berry Farm. We found in Anaheim this old school mini golf style place. So they have the windmill, they have the castle. But you have to go down these hills, right? And once you get down the hill, there's, and the further you go, the more complicated it gets. I put my ball in the water no less than 8 times trying to get it over this ramp where you have to hit it. And with me, subtlety is not a key to me. It's all or nothing. I could not get this ball. The party behind us was having a field day and started taking bets on if I was going to get it this time. So I get you, Pete. It's those ones suck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gets quite wacky because the first course is just in the forest and it's kind of like more traditional mini golf for the most part. But then when you get to like the space station like course, there's like anti-gravity walls and there's like portals and stuff shit. So it gets wackier as you go on. But there's because you can build your own courses though. So there's like an entire community of like people making courses and sharing them. So there's kind of infinite to play in that sense.
Yeah. Trying to remember, there was a mini golf game that I remember having on my computer years and years ago. We're not probably like 20 years ago now. That you every so often you'd get an exploding golf ball and it would waste your turn. It was so maddening because you'd go to hit it and you would have your thing lined right up to sink it and it would explode. Yeah,
they keep trying to sell me good games because I just got an email there from Steam saying, "Hey, Sonic Mania is on sale. That's on your wish list. You want it."
Yeah, there's a big sale on Switch games. I actually bought a Yu-Gi-Oh game that's it's been on another console. I can't remember the exact. It's got a subtitle. It's the most recent Yu-Gi-Oh game that was a big one. It covers like all of the show's stories, and and then it has like a multiplayer.
Yu-Gi-Oh was a show. I thought it was like a board game, but okay.
Card game. It was a card game, but also a TV show. It had multiple shows. But yeah, I mean, it plays like the card game. I mean, there's not really a lot to say about that. If you're familiar with it, then
that's something you ever do. Yeah, because I mean, Jurassic World Evolution's on sale as well, and it's something I've been toyed with before. If you want to build your own,
you play as the dinosaurs in that one, right?
No, you build your own park. It's like
that's the build your own park one.
It's a park management game.
Ooh. It's like Zoo Tycoon, but with
yeah, I gotcha.
So I'll be kind of dabbling
into one of those for the iPad. It was a Jurassic Park iPad game, but it got to the point where you had to pay to win. We could never unlock the T-Rex, no matter what we did. It was very, very, very frustrating.
Most mobile games are kind of geared like that,
designed for that.
Yeah, no, I know, but it was just we would run this park, and I was happy because I got Triceratops, right? Like my favorite dinosaur. So
you'd probably enjoy Evolution then.
Yeah, probably. Well, wait, does Claire show up?
I don't think so.
Damn.
I don't think so. You get 5 islands, the 5 deaths.
Ooh, the 5 deaths.
Yeah, and you start off in one island, you get to expand to the others. I've seen people play a bits of it, and You know,
So
I just started Pillars of
But-
Eternity though, so I'm trying to not buy more games, especially since I'm trying to still buy parts for my computer. I just ordered my case and my cooler for my CPU, so I'm trying to not spend money on games that I don't need.
So you said on Twitter a 4,000 card. I took that as $4,000. And I'm like, that's
No.
another effort. What is he hoarding from us?
No.
And then I looked it up. I was like, oh no, that's the model of card. And that card's like $80. That's understandable. You know?
Well, no, it doesn't exist yet. So what I was saying on Twitter, just to
Gotcha.
clarify, just in case people are confused about what Matt just said, is that
Yeah.
I'm weighing up buying a graphics card before the new one's coming out, because we don't know how long these 3,000 cards are going to be delayed. That's the next generation of NVIDIA cards. But my one selling point, if I do cave and buy a card before then, is that I don't have to feel guilty when the next gen comes out, the 4,000 cards. I can get one straight away because I didn't get a 3,000 card. So it's the long game of no guilt.
Gotcha.
The long
So
game.
I looked up a video card for it's 4,000. And stuff came up and it was like $80. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's fair part.
Probably a laptop chipset of that with that number.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that'll be nothing. Yeah, nah. I mean, graphics cards are expensive. I mean, we're talking like $400, $500 for a good one here. But
Gotcha. When I saw 4,000, I was like, this mother, how well are we doing on Patreon? Like, he's got a $4,000 card. And then I was like, wait, Tim would have attacked him way quicker.
No, my entire system won't cost 4,000 or even close to it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
don't worry about it.
Gotcha. Shows you how much I know about. I just know I have a MacBook and it works how I want it to, and that's I'm happy.
So-
Although I don't use it right now. Ashley's using it for work, so
Of course.
it makes things very different. Luckily, I have my iPad to run everything that I need off of it. But yeah, it's very frustrating.
Paige was asking me the other day. She goes, "So, a friend from work. She's looking at buying a new laptop. Can you give me a suggestion?" I went, "What does she want it for?" She goes, "Oh, just like basic stuff. She doesn't want a dedicated gaming laptop like I've got." And I went, "That can't help you then. I don't know anything about when it comes." She goes, "It needs to be good enough to play like the last Sims game and like a couple of other little bits, but
Right.
not too good that it's like got an actual graphics card." I'm like, that can't help you. I don't go below that level. I don't know anything about the laptops. I can look at them all and be like, yeah, sure, but integrated graphics, all beyond me.
Yeah, below that level, I mean, I don't deal with peasant machines.
That was basically my reaction. I was like, you're on your own.
Yeah, so no, I'm getting close though. After those last couple, but I just need to get hard drives, my PS2, and then I'm onto the graphics card. So I might even be building the machine in a couple of months. So the delivery's taking longer for these items, but that makes sense just because of what's going on.
Everything is on Amazon.
Yeah. I ordered practice pucks and they won't be here for like another week and a half.
But it's not even like I can build it once they arrive anyway, because they're not even the final parts, so it doesn't really matter. It's whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I know here Amazon are prioritizing food. So like if you've got like Prime, for example, food deliveries will still come like the next day. But if you order like electronics, it'll have like a 5 or 6 day. And not even like because they can't ship it. It's just like we're not even going to look at shipping that for a while. We're pushing it down the queue.
Yeah, so we ordered a fan to prep for summer for downstairs because our old one died. And so Ashley ordered it, and that came fairly quick, like not next day Prime, but within a couple days. But my practice hockey pucks that roll on concrete like ice, those aren't coming for a minute. So those are down lower, which understandable. I'm not.
Yeah.
Don't take this as me complaining.
Yeah.
It's frustrating in a very like first world problem way, isn't it? It's like, God damn it, I got so used to my next day Amazon Prime delivery, and now I'm gonna wait like a week. It's frustrating in that sense, but like at the same time, it's like no, I totally understand. It's like what I was saying about waiting on the post for Final Fantasy VII. It's like it's frustrating because of when it's fallen with the bank holiday. I've got to wait like 5 extra days when I want to be playing the game. But I get it. I'm not mad about it. I'm just a little bit annoyed.
So yeah, that's basically like gaming wise. I don't have any super deep dives to go into, so we can switch over to any comic books. I'll just quickly say that I didn't. I actually downloaded on my Comixology Kelly Thompson's Hawkeye. I planned on starting that for this show so that I could have to say I give my first impressions on it. Unfortunately, my quiz making took like twice as long as I thought it would, so I didn't actually get any read. But next week I should have some of that.
Do I need to read Fractions first, or can I just jump? Because I downloaded
I don't think so.
I haven't read it, but as far as I know, you can just jump in.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so.
As long as you just know, hey, Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, you're good, right?
I like Fractions run, so I mean, I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
but...
well, I have that too. I've had that for a while, which I might go. I know Pete told me to go to. I asked the guys if I should read All New Wolverine, Tom Taylor.
Yes.
Or Matt Fraction's Hawkeye.
Yes.
To prep for Kelly Thompson's, and so.
I mean,
but
really
shoot, Pete's reading it. No, I can't. I know,
Oh.
and I can read multiple at one time. I just in my brain right now, I've just been like.
Yeah, Mike's good.
Once it's like rolling a ball down a hill. I'm just gonna keep going until I'm done with whatever story I'm reading.
So I will read some of that for next week. Maybe the first trade or so, or maybe more. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. But yeah. So, what have you been reading, Matt?
So I finished Flintstones. I was about half through last week. I finished all of that, and oh man, I highly recommend it. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, you should give it a read. The fact that Mark Russell made me care about the fate of their vacuum cleaner it's one of the things, and it still doesn't sit well with me. Not to go into spoilers. Oh man, he's so good. Let him write with whatever. Like, I want to see him do something that's not so satirical. I want to see him do, like, because I did like his Sinestro story and his he didn't do Black Mask. He had Sinestro and Riddler. I like both of those. So that, and then I jumped straight from that to finishing Charles Soule's Darth Vader. So Pete can tune out for a minute.
So good.
Pete. Okay, so I know Connor. So you read all of that, right?
I read as it was coming out. Yeah.
So I was reading. I stopped. I was on the third trade when I went to Disneyland.
How many was there in the end? 4 or 5?
Four. And I had started reading. So on Rise of the Resistance, it's not a spoiler, but you meet a new Mon Calamari character named Lieutenant Beck. Full animatronic of him. It's super rad. And as I'm reading this and going through that, I hit the Mon Calamari part of Vader's mission. Burning Seas.
What's really interesting is at the same sort of time in the main Star Wars book, it was during Gillen's run.
Yeah.
He had either just finished or was just doing an arc set on Mon Cala as well. And the way these two paralleled reading kind of at the same time. It wasn't like a crossover or anything. It was just seeing them at different points
thematically.
In time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
So I also finished Rebels finally this week. So it's a very Star Wars focused week for me. Tears, I will just say.
I read that with you.
Happened, and whatnot. So I will put Charles Soule up there with Dave Filoni as one of, if his name's attached to anything Star Wars, give it your attention.
Which it still is, very much.
Right,
so.
which I'm going to. I'm gonna. I actually have no excuse now. I was gonna wait for the first trade, but I have the first 2 issues sitting there that I bought of his Star Wars, so I might as well give it a go.
Yeah. And we've got his High Republic. He's doing a novel for that coming later this year.
So excited for that. But his Vader, the stuff that happens. So Burning Seas was great. It's probably my favorite story in that. Like it's up there with Gillen's, where he went to the lava planet, the mining planet, and basically instilled a coup and put the new ruler in.
Yeah,
that's probably my favorite Darth Vader story that I've read. Kind of there's I haven't read a lot, but that one's up there. Burning Seas is up there with that one because the Inquisitorius and just the Jedi that he has to come up against, that he's butting heads with, and just the whole story with Mon Cala, they are so important to the Star Wars mythos. It's ridiculous, right? So, and just seeing how this all plays out and why Mon Cala there's always Mon Cala involved in the rebellion, and this goes back and explains it. So Soule is so good at dealing with these little pieces of Star Wars that he can expand. And then you get to Fortress Vader, which I wasn't a big fan of. There are parts of it that I really, really enjoy. The kind of meta parts of it I enjoy more. Yeah. There was a part where you could tell throughout the whole run that he's not a fan of the Inquisitorius, right? But he executes 2 of them in the Fortress Vader story, and I'm not 100% certain why. I don't know if that's going to pay off later. But he basically accused them of treason, and there's no proof of it whatsoever.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I again, because this was a while ago, I read this now. This was
right,
probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
if I recall, I think it was just that insecurity of, hey, these are growing strong. I don't want a replacement. I don't want the Emperor looking to replace me anytime soon.
Right, and that's what I took it as, but he accused them of treason because they had affection towards each other, which, as a team, you want, right? Like,
yeah, I think that's part of, again, that, squashing that whole, Jedi. It kind of comes under that, no affection, no attachment sort of thing.
Right, and so, he does that, but he goes to build, which I've never been a fan of him having a fortress on Mustafar. Like, once they put that in official canon in Rogue One, I had a massive eye roll. I know it was something that George wanted to do. Like, he had this big Gothic castle idea for, I forget which one. I think it was supposed to be Empire. I just was never a fan of it. But Soul takes that little piece, and he's like, you know what? You know why this is here? There's a dark side locus here, which means also there must be a light side one, because we learned in Last Jedi, it's a yin and yang kind of thing.
Yeah, there's always balance.
Right. So there's a dark side center here, and almost the Sith put kind of a temple. And through another Soul device, the Mask of Mammon, which popped up in Soul's Lando, which should come as no surprise. As a DC Comics fan, I love continuity. So the fact that Soul's using continuity here through Star Wars, it's fantastic.
I think that's something that for the most part, I think the Lucasfilm story group have been really good at across various mediums as well.
Right.
Like Soul had it easy here because it was his own work he's pulling from.
Right.
But when you see them pulling from other writers and other ideas just across, things from books showing up in comics, the collaboration and whoever's doing the editorial on these things doing a pretty good job.
So he pulls from his stuff, and there's this character of Mammon who was I wouldn't call he was a Sith per se. He was a dark side user that he used art as a way to commune with the dark side. And if you're a fan of his Swamp Thing run, towards the end there, he gets into what it means to be a creator and have creative. And it ends up becoming one of these realms, right, of, the green and the red and information. And here's the opposite flip side of that. The good that comes with creation is the bad, and how Mammon is this being driven by pure ego of legacy, and how that balances with Vader, why he's building this temple. Basically, his fortress is a temple to the dark side to funnel the energy that ends up giving Mammon a place to revive himself. And Vader having to come to terms with this, and he ends up stepping into the dark side. And there was this cool thing throughout his Vader run that when Vader would meditate, like you would see him in his chamber in the movie, he would go into this dark side form of himself, which is just a torso. And it's super creepy, but he ends up stepping into the dark side, and there's stuff revealed here, which I won't spoil, because if you're any type of Star Wars fan, you should have read this by now. I was slow on the uptake. Despite being a Soul fan, I just didn't have time. Now I'm going to make time. There's stuff here that is so cool and plays with that. I brought up Rebels because it plays with the world beyond worlds and the whole cosmic force, which I'm really not a fan of. I like the natural force more than anything. But this goes into that cosmic force and why Vader's the chosen one and whatever.
And if he really is, or if it's all just misdirection and just intentional reading, it's real deep stuff.
I could not put this down. I stayed up on Wednesday to watch NXT Live, which I usually don't do, but because of the Gargano Ciampa match, I couldn't go to sleep because I was all charged up from wrestling and the ending of that match. So I sat there and read like 4 issues of Fortress Vader. And then as this is being built, I could not stop thinking about it. So again, it's Soul and the whole thing of obsession being a part of the dark side and going like, oh my God, I'm falling for it. It's just so good.
It is.
And then the only other thing I read this week was I basically finished Coates' Captain America because this is the last one for right now. And the stuff that he's doing there, how it's not so
Still
subtly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's not so subtly hinting at what's going on in this country right now. However, him introducing Peggy, who I'm a huge fan of in the movies, and what she means almost as being a spirit, almost like Uncle Sam. That's the vibe I'm getting from it. I don't know if you're caught up, Connor.
I am. I've got maybe one issue to go. I don't think so, though.
Oh, so you already saw that, her spirit of rebellion and revolution, and she's been there for everything. I like what that means for Cap going forward. Like, he is almost this Uncle Sam figure that can be corrupted like Hydra did, or it can be
the
used.
whole run's been kind of built on that crux of this is the image of Captain America after the whole Hydra Evil Steve thing that was done a while back, and it is all revolving around him kind of redeeming that image, and if it's possible to or not.
Right. So really, really, really good. So yeah, so I finished Flintstones. I got super into Soul's Vader, and Soul's he's definitely up there. If I had to name a top 5 writers for anything, I think Soul's firmly cemented himself in there right now. And then Coates is getting caught up. Before we started recording, I was starting to get caught up on Immortal Hulk. So by next week, I'll be fully caught up because I'm going to finish all of my recent comics right now before I jump into, I think it's going to be Hawkeye now. So I can balance Fractions Hawkeye with Pete if he's going to do Kelly Thompson. And then I'll eventually get there. So, but yeah. So that's what I was reading. Sorry for that Star Wars detour there, Pete.
It was comics relevant, to be fair.
Yes, it was.
Connor, do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, I read some stuff. I finished off Frank Miller's Daredevil, and the big part is I read Born Again afterwards, which was pretty fantastic. I said a lot about my thoughts on the overall run last week, so I won't go into that too much. But Born Again was pretty damn stellar. It really did take this concept, kind of reinvent it, throw it fresh, and it changed up a lot of things. But it still felt very familiar with what Miller's run had just been, with where he was doing, what he was doing with like Kingpin and stuff like that. But really kind of pushed it forward, and it was interesting to kind of see, okay, this guest writer come back and do this arc, and really just push forward this book with some momentum. Kind of just like, hey, I did it for a while. I pushed a lot of things forward, which obviously he did, with all the things he created in his run. And then he left for a few years, and people did stuff. And I haven't read anything in there, but it feels like maybe it was getting a bit stagnant. And they went, hey, do you want to come back and just give it a push in a new direction? And and then someone else kind of runs with that and kind of went with it. And I think if that's what the editorial goal was, absolutely knocked it out of the park. Because it feels completely fresh and revived after that book.
So Born Again's which story is this one? Is this the one with Karen Page?
Yeah, Karen Page and the Nuns. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's all that stuff going on. It was an interesting one with Karen Page in particular, because obviously she was not featured in Miller's run at all.
Right.
And then by the time you get to this, there's all this history, which I'm assuming happened between their runs, but I don't know. Maybe it happened before Miller's run. I don't actually know. But it plays off of this history, but it works in a way that if you haven't read it, it kind of doesn't matter. It kind of gives you everything you need, and it plays quite well in that regard. It makes it very clear what she knows, what she doesn't know, and how that plays into it.
It's crazy how much we know about Daredevil is only rooted in stuff that was same age as me, right? Like only 35 years.
80% of Daredevil's major beats and characters is okay in Miller's stuff from the mid to late 80s.
And then you have the Bendis and Brubaker stuff that stands out next. That builds on that. Well, you also have Kevin Smith in between those. But yeah, it's crazy when you think about that. You could say it's kind of the same about Batman, but you have the whole Silver Age to draw on too. That's kind of important.
More history there where there is a lot of these older stories that kind of got reworked into canon in various ways. That things like that, it didn't come into play as much.
Right.
But Born Again was excellent. So I really enjoyed that. And then after that, I actually started reading Doctor Strange: The Oath.
Ooh, Brian came on.
Yeah. I think I read the first 2 issues of that last night. Enjoying it a lot so far, actually. I will almost certainly finish that and start something else in the next week, so I'll probably report. And I'll be honest, I spent a lot of my time this week watching TV. Yeah. Rather than...
we can touch on that real quick when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any more comics to talk about, so if you want to do a little bit of TV.
Real quick, with did you read Doctor Strange or Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange?
No.
Okay.
No,
I
dabbled in maybe I read an issue or 2. I dabbled in a couple of runs over the past 5 years or so, where I've tried a few issues and it's not really grabbed me. But The Oath is a pretty major story, I thought.
No, it is. I just was wondering because I know how much you like Aaron. It's probably the most disappointed I've been with an Aaron work.
Oh.
I like what he tries, where he's like, all magic has a cost, which that's a big theme with stories of magic. It goes a little bit too far, and he almost does the Godslayer, but with magic.
That's
and
interesting.
It's like you're running the same beats back, but it's not like he was going to connect them ever. It's not like there's a Thor, Doctor Strange crossover with these two. It's very, I don't know. I put Aaron up there very, very high. So it wasn't what I wanted to do. Although the art is pretty good for Doctor Strange. But I was just curious if you had.
All right. If you're watching TV, if you want to talk about TV a little bit, it's something that I've not really done. Outside, obviously, I'm doing stuff for review that I'm watching weekly, and me and Connor just this week, a good enough time to plug us in. If you're a patron at MailFuzz TV on Patreon.com, you can, starting next week, you'll get an exclusive audio only Already Cancelled, which is me and Connor sort of reviewing an episode of a TV show every week of an older series. So we started 6 Feet Under. We just recorded the first one yesterday, so that's starting. But that's a noble thing. I mean, ever since we started doing TV reviews for MailFuzz TV, I've really watched TV that's not for that.
No, I agree. I've actually been in the same boat, which is why over the last 2 or 3 months, I kind of made a point of, no, I actually want to try and watch some stuff for myself, because I haven't done in years, really, at this point. Outside of Rebels, which was kind of the only thing that I was watching consistently outside of what we reviewed.
Yeah, the only stuff that I watched outside of what we reviewed typically is comedies. Actual hour-long dramas. And it's just because they take so much time, and I spend so much time reviewing TV shows anyway that I'd rather spend it on movies, or I'd rather spend it on video games or whatever.
No, I get that. It was for me. I was like, there's so many TV shows that I know I want to watch, and I've wanted to watch for a long time. They've been on my list, and you're never gonna want to watch them. It's like shows like that where I'm like, well, I'm never gonna I'm never gonna do a review with them. I'm never gonna get an excuse if I don't just watch them. So I've kind of made a point of trying to watch stuff. So over the last few months, I watched all of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I spoiled that recently, and I've been working through the Legend of Korra, obviously the sequel, which is real good. I'm towards the end of season 2 now, but really digging that and the way it's kind of evolved from the original show.
Yeah. From what I hear, I should check that out, but
I think you'd enjoy it. Real solid. But actually, the other day I started watching classic Doctor Who. I've dabbled here. I've watched at least a handful of episodes from each Doctor, so enough to be familiar. But I've never properly watched all of it.
So, who's your favorite Doctor?
As of right now, I will stick with my classic answer of Tennant.
Okay.
But I mean, Palace is obviously I while I've dabbled now, I was at an age when the newer show started where I hadn't seen any before that, so I kind of came in with Eccleston, as did many people now.
Many people did, yeah.
So I don't feel like ashamed or anything, but I've gone back and watched, and enough that I've got a flavour of each Doctor, and Tennant's still my favourite, but maybe watching kind of all of it, that'll change. I say all.
It's almost like if it was the New 52, except as if the New 52 there was years without any comics before that, as if there was a long gap with nothing, and then New 52 hit. That's kind of what the Doctor Who 2005 was like, because
except pretty well regarded as
sure. I just mean in the sense of bringing in new people. A lot of people started there because it was the new fresh relaunch,
right? So who was this thing that I was very resistant to, because when I started hanging out on the internet with other people like-minded, it was this thing that I tried to watch back when Sci-Fi here brought it up with Eccleston, and I was like, what is this? Is weird. And I was hesitant to it, but by the time I started talking to people, Tennant had become the Doctor, and then Matt Smith had become the Doctor. And it was up to this point where it was almost like a cult, and I was tired of hearing about it. So I was just like, I don't care about you. And I'll never forget our friend Stu calling. He's like, isn't that stupid show where the guy runs around with a magic spanner? And I was just like...
I mean, screwdriver, but yeah.
Right, but still, just him with the flippant, I hate this. I was like, oh, I like Stu. Because we bonded over our dislike of Who. And then I actually watched a couple seasons. I've watched most of Tennant. The one that sticks out mostly is Andrew Garfield playing a New Yorker with a very bad accent, to when he'd go and play Spider-Man with also a bad accent. I think that was it. That was the day of the Dalek where they attack during the Great Depression.
in the 20s or 30s or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like the Empire State Building's kind of being built.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, I got bored.
Some of the weakest episodes in that season.
Yeah.
Say that.
I got bored, and so I never went back. Although I keep being told Alden is bound, set, and determined that I would love Matt Smith's Doctor.
You were like, Matt Smith's Doctor is a fairy tale, and I mean that in a really positive way because I really like Matt Smith's Doctor.
Is that when the Neil Gaiman stuff starts coming in? Where they
I think he has a couple episodes in Matt Smith.
That's. I think that's what he sold it on me. He's like, oh, you like how, because he knows how much I like the Norse mythology takes that he did. You know,
I think he did an episode. I think it was him that did the episode, which is essentially the TARDIS had like a personality personified and projected as an actual like woman. And it was like, the relationship between the Doctor and his TARDIS, and it was a fantastic episode. I think that was Gaiman.
Gotcha.
Pretty sure.
But yeah, he's bound, set, and determined. There's that, and he the Bleeding Angel, Weeping Angels, whatever the hell they're called, Blink.
Yeah, Blink.
He's told me to watch that, and I was like, I can't. I do the Connor where I can't watch it out of order.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. There are so many people though who have just watched Blink as their first episode of Doctor Who, and it's a really like soft entry point in the sense that there's actually not a lot of the Doctor in it. There's not a lot of flamboyant things running around. There's just the idea taken to the extreme, and it's is one of the best episodes of
now, is that Matt Smith or is that Tennant?
No, that's Tennant.
Okay.
That's in season 3, I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to, all things being, I'm going to finish Legends of Tomorrow because I just remembered I need to finish that. That's kind of like DC's Doctor Who, right?
Kind of.
I mean, kind of way, I suppose.
I need to get to Bubo. I still have yet to get to Bubo. Bebo. Whatever.
Bebo.
But yeah. Anything else before I ramble?
No, ramble away.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, Pete, so I finally finished Silicon Valley, which I was saving because that's a show I can just binge, and I sat down one day and watched all of the last season, and it ends fairly well. It goes from the satire of the tech industry to being a satire of complete culture in that last season, and the places that it goes. You could tell that Kumail had gotten jacked in between because suddenly his character shirts are fitting differently, and he has like bodybuilder shoulders, and it's just weird because he's supposed to be this tech guy that sits behind a desk all day. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, the place that it goes with how it ends the series is very fitting. It ends with a 10-year later jump, which is kind of cool. So I don't know if you guys have ever watched Silicon Valley.
No.
But yeah, it's for my money. It's one of the tightest comedy shows just because they have the 8-9 episodes a season, and they just full go with the jokes. And Martin Starr's Guilfoyle reminds me of one of my friends so much that I texted him, go, hey, do you get royalty checks for this? Because clearly this is based on you. Like, what was it like to meet Mike Judge? But yeah, so I finished that. I'd say I'm all caught up on Saul last week. Not all caught up to this season. So we have a couple episodes left this season.
Just 2, I think.
There's 2, okay. So then I'll start in 2 weeks once I know I can get this season done.
Episode 8 was just there was a biggie.
Gotcha.
So,
oh yeah.
So.
But I finished season 4. I'm not as high on it as you guys are. Like, it's a good show.
It's because you're a terrible person, Matt. It's fine.
Oh, F off. But like, and I see our friend Daniel's also real big on it, saying like it's better than Breaking Bad. I don't know if I agree, but I do think that binging Breaking Bad was different than watching it week to week. So maybe I think I need to watch it week to week, and I'd have a different appreciation for Saul. But watching them all as they go, I don't know if it's sinking in with me like Breaking Bad did. But it's fine. Like it's a nice. I don't want to say prequel series, because that's not really the point of it. But I like seeing where Saul came from. Like in season 4, you get his origin of where the name came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked all the stuff with the phones and how he ran his scam to get was it Lavelle, who was the big guy that was with Bill Burr on the season on Breaking Bad. But we saw the thing to keep him out of jail. I thought that was classic Saul. But just like some of the stuff with the brother and the like I don't know. It's just it's not hitting with me like all the stuff on Breaking Bad did.
Oh man, everything with Chuck I thought was phenomenal. But if you want to hear me and Carl like talk about it in depth every single episode, you can go find that on the YouTube page.
And that might be a piece too that I'm not part of the larger conversation. So with Breaking Bad towards the end there, I'd gotten caught up with I think season 3 or 4. So by the time they started airing, I was being able to be part of the larger conversation with everybody. And I think that adds to it. I don't know. So, but now I'm looking for a TV show. I've run out of stuff, so it's either I'm gonna start Stumptown or Veronica Mars. I'm not certain, but either way, I think those are more my jam. And I can fit in Legends of Tomorrow. Those are like, you know, pieces of candy. You know,
it's just easy watching, isn't it?
Yeah, like I can watch like 4 of them in a row and forget like, oh man.
It's funny because there's a lot of content going around right now with like people doing like live watches with directors and writers and all sorts. There's a lot of great media in that vein if you want to look into that stuff. It's funny actually they're doing like Doctor Who ones every week at the minute, and I know tonight was actually that Neil Gaiman episode with the Doctor and the TARDIS. So there's all live tweeted stuff that you can go and follow.
I do know CM Punk and Mark Millar, which are 2 names that I don't think I'd want to watch live tweets on. They live tweeted Ghostbusters together, like not together, but they both were watching it and putting out tweets at the same time with the hashtag.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing right now. And
there's the live readings as well. I know Kevin Conroy just did one or is doing one for that new Batman animated comic, that digital first one that we've mentioned. Doing like a reading of that, which is pretty cool. Like just the way that all these things are kind of being done, because like, well, what else are we going to do? I like all this sort of content.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll take us on to the final thing we're going to do before we wrap up, which is me talking about Flash Forward issue 6, which was purchased as a tip sort of purchase on one of the live streams, which I do a couple times a week. David's making me do this. He gave me a choice. I don't know what to take, because there was like he gave me 2 to pick from, and this was the lesser of the 2 evils. At least in my judgment at the time, that's what it felt like. Anyway, I will say this: Flash Forward issue 6 is mercifully not a long read. It went in pretty quickly. It felt nice to have skipped most of the book. It felt nice to just sort of jump in, because it's basically Wally spending one last perfect day with his kids, with Jay and Irie, who he's just found kind of in the multiverse or whatever. And Tempest is like, no, you've got to take this position on the Morbius chair. You got to do this. And it's one of those things where I didn't quite get like what age the kids were supposed to be in this comic, because I assumed coming into it that they were going to be just kind of where they left off. But I think Brett Booth's art was just a little bit weird, because they were still talking like they were the same age as before, but I swear Iris looked like she was like 15, 16. So that was like a disconnect there that wasn't quite working for me. And the way they spoke was definitely still kiddie though. Where Wally's like, you forget the tickle monster, and Iris is like, yeah, let me at him, Dad. Like all of it felt like very young and kiddie, dialogue wise. But basically, he's spending this one happy day, and he asked Tempest to make sure he gets them home to Linda, which is kind of the sort of happier ending side of the book, where you see her get her memories back, and she's with her kids, and they're all happy to be together. But Wally has given up his life to be on the chair, and he's merged with whatever Manhattan put in the chair, with the chair itself, where he's like, no, we used to be Wally West, we used to be the Mobius chair, but now we are something new. We are someone else. We are something else. And it says to be continued in Flash 750, which we did read that story, and of course it's meant to go into Generation Zero next, which obviously we'll see where that goes.
Conveniently isn't happening now without Free Comic Book Day. So
there's been one of my friends put up a post today about what's your favorite global pandemic conspiracy theory, and I just remembered that should have been mine. Is that DC did this to not have to do, I'm sure they're going to blame DDO.
Excuse to fix whatever mess they were in.
Yep. And someone has asked Snyder how Wally or Manhattan fit into death metal, and he says that they do. It's not a big thing, but that whatever Manhattan did in Doomsday Clock has has a thread in death metal.
Yeah, the way it sounded to me was more like he's picking up on something from Doomsday Clock, which is so it's indirectly tied to Manhattan, because obviously that was all Manhattan related, but not that I don't think we should expect Manhattan to show up or anything like that.
No. But there's a thread there of if you haven't read Doomsday Clock, go read it. You have plenty of time right now.
And why have you not read it already?
Yeah. But he did say that this will, not that it was a fix, but he wrote this in mind to put Doomsday Clock in line some way.
Interesting.
We'll
get to the book eventually, I'm sure.
But but Snyder also has a tendency of doing that on Twitter, where he says stuff that doesn't pan out exactly. And I don't know if he does it on purpose or he's just this is off the top of his head. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's either. I think he's just really enthusiastic about his stories. Like I believe that there's a genuine passion there, that he'll say something that he's got an idea that kind of works in his mind, but maybe it's smaller than he actually realizes, and he kind of blows it up, not intentionally, but just more.
Right.
When someone asks him and he talks about it, he's like, yeah, I've got this idea, and it connects to this.
Yeah, as someone that has met him and talked to him about my favorite thread, American Vampire, he had told me, this is 6-7 years ago now, watch out for Gus, who's a character that shows up later. He'll have a big role. I am still waiting for Gus to have this big role.
Do you know what? Snyder reminds me of, from the gaming industry, Peter Molyneux, who had a huge reputation for just massively blowing the games that he was working on out of proportion and be like, this is going to be huge, we're doing this thing, we're doing that, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at the time, he's not lying. This was something in plans that was like, okay, I want to do this, but but it doesn't come together with technology, time, whatever the reason. Things change. It's a fluid production. But he just opens his mouth too early every single time. And I feel like that way. Snyder's maybe in a similar boat where he's so enthusiastic about the stuff he's working on that he wants to share. And sometimes that doesn't pan out with the way the story actually goes.
Yeah. I just, now I'm like, do I need to read Second Cycle? I have time.
You have to? I mean, no. Could you?
No.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Should you?
Maybe that's what he was talking about. I got 2 issues in. I'm like, this is not the American Vampire I remember.
He's definitely thinking about American Vampire quite a lot.
Can I finish this issue before you go on more tangents?
Are you not done with that yet?
No, I'm not done with it.
Sorry. Thought you were done.
I did too, to be honest.
No, anyway, so the other big thing that's in the issue is that so the Dark Multiverses always only exist for a small period of time, because they're basically the worst case scenarios, the worst nightmares of a world. But the idea is that, and this is stuff that I didn't understand completely, because I assume this is what the rest of the book went into, and I'm just getting the tail end of this. But the Dark Multiverse that was created, or the Dark World that was created from Wally's nightmare, because Wally's so connected to the Speed Force that instead of dying, the world keeps healing itself quicker than it can die, or something like that. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I didn't understand why his world was operating under the same logic of his powers or his body. It could have been the worlds haven't felt like that for anyone else or any other Dark Multiverse we've seen, but whatever. That was the thing. But basically, he has to sort of help kill this world, and he does that by sitting in the chair. So that was the other big thing in the book that it was brought up. For the most part, though, it was him saying goodbye to his kids, him sort of asking Tempest to send them to their mom, and then him just sort of saying, "Yes, I'm now this new being, and I will take on whatever." He's got the Manhattan text boxes, which we saw in Flash 750. Booth's art is Booth's art. Like I say, the kids look too old for given how they're talking. Not super fan. They do this thing where Linda's got a Flash shirt on and she's got a Flash logo on her phone, even though we don't really... I mean, we barely know this version of Linda, right? I mean, maybe she was in this book more before this issue, but...
Well, there was a version of her that had speed powers, too, from the Amalgam, crossover universe. I remember looking that up.
Yeah, but is that relevant to what Rebirth Linda is? Or, what
no, but there was... But I think they merged at some point, if I remember reading something... Because it said, who's this new character? It was Godspeed and Linda combined. So who knows? It's
Yeah, so it's Brett Booth art down to the way they're all smelling, the way the heads feel a bit lankier in places, all the things that you like. But for some reason, Wally's smirking at the end of this, when he's like, oh, it's a new me, and he says this smirk in his face, and I'm like, why are you smirking? I thought you're like this entity now that's sort of beyond emotion, because he even says at one point that there's no emotions anymore. He's like, because after the kids are back with Linda, you see him kind of watching, and then he sort of closes the little hologram in his hand, as if like, he's done with this now. He's had the happy ending.
Apparently, smirking doesn't count as emotions.
I mean, why would you smirk if you don't have emotions?
Speed Force, bro.
Because it's badass, and everyone knows that.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's what I think of Wally West as badass.
Yeah. So thanks, David, for making me read Flash Forward issue 6. It wasn't completely punishing because at least it went in quite quickly. It didn't feel like it dragged. There was a lot of 2-page spreads and those ate up some pages, which was nice.
That's good.
No. Yes. I mean, as far as the rating goes, it's like a 4, maybe a 5, a stretch. I don't know. It's hard to judge without the context of the previous issues, though.
I'm trying to think about what we learned in Metal about the Forge and the Hawkman beast that, destroyed things, right? And that's what Superman and Batman had to go stop. And then we also had the Forger, right? Who was part of the Anti-Monitor Brigade with Perpetua.
Sure.
Right? So I'm trying to think about how Wally's world fits into that when it just doesn't.
I don't care about Wally's world.
No, because the whole point of those dark multiverses, they got fed to the dragon, remember?
Yeah, I think this is the idea of the ones that after that, when all went tits up in Metal, these are the ones that kind of left out and lived on longer than maybe they should have done.
Yeah, also, I'm pretty sure Wally's World's the theme park that the Griswolds go to in National Lampoon's Vacation.
Sorry, folks, we're closed.
So stop talking about Wally's World. It's already a thing. Stop it.
I'm Matt.
I could just see young what's his face?
What are you talking about?
The son. Chevy Chase, and you got the son. Anthony Michael Hall. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
I just see them slow motion running towards the park, but the empty parking lot, and Chariots of Fire playing. Like, that's all I can think of when you say Wally's World. Anyway, that's Flash Forward issue 6. Mercifully done. But don't worry, David's got another 2 books that he's got sort of still on the list for me to read, so more coming soon, including Telos #1, and I don't know if that's next or maybe after. Oh yeah, Lobo issue 1 for the New 52 is first. Yeah, we got that first. So of course I'm excited about these books. Why wouldn't I be? You son of a bitch.
Oh my gosh, it was out of Convergence. He hates you.
He apparently does, yes. So anyway, that pretty much wraps up Quarantine the Multiverse #2. We'll be back next week. So I have no plans to make another quiz for next week, but if people want to send some to mftvquestions@gmail.com, you're more than welcome to, and I will even do 1 or 2 if we get a bunch. But I think we will ask for questions next week. We'll get some more questions. So send in questions to the email address there, or I'll ask for them on Twitter as well. But questions can be related to DC Comics, can be related to sort of anything nerdy or whatever, because we'll talk about whatever, because it's just that weird time. It's that weird quarantine mood. Mm-hmm. So we'll do some questions next week. But of course, you can support us by rating the podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. I will thank our Patreon producers actually for this for the month. So thank you to David Short, although I hate you. Just FYI. Thank you to Alison M. Forday, Cindy Palacios, and Tyler Hess for being producers. That means they're $20 and up on patreon.com. But you can be a patron for as little as $1 per month. So go over and see if you want to, get early access at the $5 tier, for example. You get all the Multiverse shows 1 day early. Previously, of course, was back this week, and that is now going to be weekly. Me and Carl will be doing that. That's me and Carl working our way through old DC Comics runs. So go check that out. Otherwise, check out Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast, or the Atomic Cinema Experiment, the sci-fi movie podcast. We're doing 70s month on that right now, so there's 2 episodes of that a week. Go and have a look. You want to hear me and Tara talk about God Told Me To, which features a hell of a plot, lots of twists and turns.
It's insane.
All I'll say about that movie is that when it changes lanes, when it takes a left turn, it commits to the new direction 100%. It leaves no room, nothing behind. It's all in on the new plot idea.
Oh yeah.
So check out our thoughts on God Told Me To. Hell of a movie.
Dear.
Matt would love
I just saw the poster.
I suspect the poster does not do anywhere near it justice.
No, Matt would love it. It's exactly
it goes places that, I mean, even half an hour into that film, you're like, you would not predict where it could possibly go.
Yep. So, by all means, also Death Race 2000 is a bit of a gem from that era, with David Carradine in a gimp suit and a young Sylvester Stallone. Worth having a look. But anyways, that is us though. So thank you very much for joining us on this weird comic bookless period of time. This world without comics, our own dark multiverse, as it were. So we will see you next time for episode 3. I will be looking for questions, so mftvquestions@gmail.com once again, or quizzes, or anything else you want to send. So any sort of little game you want to make us play, is something we can do in this off time and the off season. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep doing stuff to pass time because there's no new comic books. And remember to never get sick in the Speed Force.
If you can, it's just going to heal you anyways.